Hello, everyone, and welcome to the show. I'm your host, Rob Hernandez, along with Joshua Sean and Bruce Holiday.
Hey, guys, how you doing?
How are you?
Good, hanging in there, man, hanging in there.
Thank you again for joining
us. It's past
us.
my bedtime, bro.
Right, I know it's late where you are, and we're going on at 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, so I certainly appreciate you taking the time to be on with us.
Yeah, no problem, man, no problem.
You are part of our Ghost Box Legends.
If I fall asleep, just talk loud and I'll wake up.
Yeah, we'll figure something out. I'll keep you awake. Okay. Absolutely. But
go ahead.
I was just going to say you're on our Ghost Box Legends list, and we're doing that series. So I really appreciate you being on and honoring us so we can discuss some of your ideas and theories. Rob, go ahead. I'm sorry to interrupt you.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, last week I know we're on pretty late because we did an impromptu investigation where a couple of people came on and were on location in Pennsylvania. Mm-hmm. So it was a fun time. It was fun times.
That was fun. Yeah.
Where'd you investigate? Where'd you go?
We didn't go. We were here. Here's the funny
people
thing.
Coming on from the investigation came on the show.
That's correct. And so we were leading a ghost box session from here. They were asking the questions from there. And the responses that we were getting were just like spot on. And the owner was there. And then so we would get a response like there was something's in the wall. And he went and grabbed a jar, like a mason jar, and it was full of bone fragments that they found in the walls.
Wow.
Then there was, it said Martha. And then he was just like, so he went and got this big portrait of one of the, I guess, owners, right? That she was killed at the location. And her name was Martha. And he showed it to everybody. And then we're getting Anubis. So somebody said, go up to the third floor. And I think there's an Anubis up there. So they went up to the third floor. And sure enough, they found a big head of an Anubis. And then they found a statue of an Anubis. For those of you that don't know what an Anubis is, it's the Egyptian god. It looks kind of like has a head of a Doberman. So yeah, it was crazy.
Well, it sounds like you had a good show, man. I gotta go watch that show.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun, and it is up on YouTube. So if you guys want to watch last week's show, there's 2 shows posted. It would be the later one that has the whole investigation and the tour of the place. It was pretty cool.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Joe, Raina, Shauna, Sean Lynn, Diane. I hope I'm pronouncing your name right. Is that Diane? Or maybe it's, I can't see. Is that right?
Diane.
Oh, yeah, that's good. I should just do the more obvious pronunciation on that. Anyway, guys, thank you for joining us. Everyone listening from around the world, we got a special show planned. And Bruce, I wanted to talk with you. And when we're discussing the Ghost Box Legends, we've discussed Frank Sumption. We had Steve Holte on. And now you're honoring us tonight, which I greatly appreciate. We're looking at kind of what I, again, consider informally, I've kind of named the golden years of the Ghost Box invention, if you will, or how it's come to be from 2000 to 2010. And you come in there with the 12470 Radio Shack hack. And that's the gray model with the built-in speaker.
Right.
Is there anything you can tell us about maybe how that came about or what your thoughts were on that or anything you can share with our audience who, I'd really like them to know and hear it directly from the horse's mouth, if you will.
Yeah, at that point in time, the only thing that was available to anybody that wanted to use a Ghost Box was either a Frank's box or a Joe's box. And both of them were scarcer than hen's teeth. I mean, luckily I was, friends with Frank Sumption. And, he sent me a couple of boxes. I had those to work with. And, I was friends with Joe Ciappi. Steve Holte was actually a co-creator of the Joe's box or a consultant with Joe when Joe was building the box.
Right.
And I had access to those boxes. So I was kind of lucky in that respect because before that, Frank was kind of like, Frank used to hold all the boxes close to his vest. You know what I mean? Like he gave them away, to personal friends and he had a lot of stipulations on who got a box and who was allowed to use a box and stuff like that, back in the early days, early in the beginning. And before, I had gotten my first Frank's box, we did manual sweeps where we used to just take an analog dial radio, and you would turn it on, ask the question, and then, sweep the dial by hand back and forth, to break up the fragments of broadcast, break it down into fragments like the automatic sweep does today. And that's how we did ghost box sessions, Very unreliable way of doing it, but because it was the sweep was inconsistent, you would catch a lot of radio signal coming through, full words of radio signal, and there was a lot of false positives coming through. But I mean, we used to get, rudimentary communication with the manual sweep. And then one day, it's a funny story. I was on the Garden State Parkway in New Jersey. I was picking my wife up from work, and we were driving home, and we were on the Garden State Parkway, and Steve Holte calls me, right? And I pick up the phone, and he says, "Listen," he said, "some guy named Some Duck on Frank's Yahoo group, he made a ghost box out of a little handheld radio." So I said, "What are you talking about? Made a ghost box?" He says, "Yeah, he did something to this radio and it sweeps now just like a ghost box. I'm headed out to Radio Shack. I'm going to pick one up." He said, "You should get one." I said, "Yeah, definitely." I hung up the phone. The next exit, I shot off the exit, found myself at Radio Shack, and I picked up the 469, right? So, of course, boom, right home, opened it up, hacked it, because Bill Chappell was actually the man's name that invented the first Radio Shack hack. And he had posted on, the instructions on how to hack it and everything. So we took it home, we hacked it, worked fine. You had to plug a speaker into it or a pair of headphones or whatever, and, whatever you had. And, it swept. It had an incessant clicking to it, though.
The popcorn, yeah.
Sounds like popcorn.
Yeah, I mean, it just clicked constantly, which was annoying. But at that point, the first couple of times you used it, you were so enamored with, having something new and something that was inexpensive and accessible, that you didn't worry about clicking and stuff like that. And it got the basic, you got basic communication from it. When I say rudimentary communication, what I mean is the yeses, the nos, the names, the I'm here's, the helps, stuff like that. You get maybe 2, 3, 1 or 2 syllable words, and that's, you're not getting, 4 or 5 word sentences with a 469,
Right.
So the next day I said to myself, you know what? I said, it's a small radio. It's kind of cheap. Who knows how long it's going to last? Let me go out and get a few of them, stock up on them, so this way I have them. I don't have to worry about it. So I run out to the local Radio Shack, and they only had 4 or 5 on the shelf. So I take those 4 or 5, and as I'm picking them up, I see right next to it, there's another radio that looks exactly the same. So I said to the guy, that worked there, I said, "What is this?" So he said, "Oh, that's the model of the radio you have in your hand, but it has an internal speaker. You don't have to plug a speaker into it. That's the only difference." So I said, "Okay, cool." So I said, "Let me grab one of these and see if this is hackable also." Well, I don't see why it shouldn't be. So I picked it up, took it home, opened it up. Sure enough, same hack process, and now that's how the 470 was born. So I gave Steve a call. I said, "Hey, I picked up this 12470 that was next. It's the next model. It's got a speaker in it. That's the only difference from the 469. Maybe you want to grab a couple of those or see what you can do." "Yeah, definitely." So now we had the 469, we had the 470, and then that opened the floodgate. Everybody and their brothers started to go out and pick up these little transistor radios, because it was just back then. Most of the radios, those size radios, little pocket radios, were all built in China or Taiwan or whatever. They all used the same little circuit board, and what it was there was a mute designation on the board. If you opened up the back of the radio and you unscrewed the board and turned it over, the ribbon there, the wires that were in that ribbon, the different colored wires would go to different designations on the board, and they were all named. So all you had to do was find the mute designation and cut it, or scrape the metallic trace, and or bend the pin, and you were good to go with any type of radio, you know. So, you know, Steve went berserk. Like, see, the technical aspect of it was never my thing. You know what I mean? Like, I was never into the building part of it. I never built any boxes myself. I hacked that 470 by accident just because it was there. I was the first one to hack it. I was just
what an awesome accident.
You know what I mean? And then a few years later, in 2000, I believe it was 2010 or 2011, I found the Jensen and I hacked that. So those are my two claims to fame as far as hack radio, as far as doing anything with any technical stuff, you know, which wasn't technical at all, it was just snipping a wire. But Steve went out, he went bananas. He started hacking all kinds of radios, and then, you know, and that was around 2007.
Right. Okay.
Late 2006, early 2007. So from 2007 to 2010, he concentrated on hacking mostly RCA radios. Like he hacked the 570, he hacked the 587, he hacked the 589, the 125, the Sangean. You know, I mean, he did a bunch of hacks, Steve.
Right.
And then he decided to, he hooked up with a guy named Rich Georgina. And Rich is a really good, you know, electronics guy. And he taught Steve how to build the sweep circuits and stuff to build custom boxes. And Steve started to build his own boxes out of Radio Shack 12150 radios, which was, I mean, I got the second box he made. He made two 150s. He kept one for himself. He sent me one. And I had that radio for 12 years, and I worked with nothing else but that radio for 12 years. That's how good it was. Right. I mean, it was off the charts good, you know. Yeah. And I'm in a very signally challenged area. So, I mean, you know, for me to get, you know, what I get, my connection with the other side has to be very strong. And the boxes that I use have to have good imprinting, because if not, I mean, I'm not getting anything. You know, and you can listen to some of my old stuff. Like if you listen to some of my older stuff, like from a couple of years ago, you'll hear, like using that 12150, on AM, I got nothing but white noise, nothing but static. And every once in a while, I would get a couple of blurbs of sweep come through. And when they sent communication, it came in on top of that. And I mean, I used to get clear, good communication out of almost nothing. You know what I mean? So, you know, I mean, but Ghost Box communication, live spirit communication, like ITC in general, has a lot to do. It has a lot more to do with, I mean, there's a lot more entailed than just the device you're using.
Yes. Or
simply turning something on and asking questions. I mean, there has to be, you know, there's all kinds of nuances and all kinds of things that are involved that a lot of the newer people, I would say 99% of the people out there that are using ITC devices for any type of live communication really don't even know about it. They don't even know, they have no concept of what, you know, what it entails, what goes into it, you know, what makes the communication possible, what makes it better. You know, I got people that call me all the time. They message me all the time and they say, you know, I'm using the same thing you're using. You know, I use the same type of box you're using. I'm asking the same type of questions. I'm in a great area with a lot of signal. How come I don't get the stuff you're getting? You know, well, first off, I've been doing it every day for 16 years. That's number one. Number two, I pretty much, I mean, I hate to say this because it always comes back to bite me in the ass. I pretty much wrote the book on Ghost Box communication as far as the who, what, where, when, why, how, the research end. You know what I mean? Like if you ask me a question about building a Ghost Box, you might as well be speaking Chinese because I have no idea what you're talking about. But, you know, I mean, I came up with the theory. I came up with most of the theories and working protocols that that were in place back when ghost box communication was ghost box communication, and not just somebody buying a $1.99 app on their phone and turning it on and thinking they're doing ghost box communication. You know what I mean? So a lot of the way we did things, a lot of the protocols that we set in place, a lot of the explanations we came up with, a lot of the processes and a lot of the theories that we came up with kind of fell by the wayside when these apps started to come out and other people started to. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not knocking anybody's. If you want to use an app, God bless you, go right ahead.
Sure.
If I'm not knocking anybody's devices or anything like that. If you want to use a device that incorporates echo, reverb, that has an MP3 file as a base of its operation, I mean, if that's your thing, more power to you. Go right ahead and do your best. You know what I mean? Because if I learned one thing in all of these years, is that you could almost, if you give our friends on the other side the opportunity to communicate, no matter what you're using, they're going to do their best to send you some type of communication.
Yes.
Yep.
You know what I mean? But if you're going to make that effort, give them the best opportunity. You know what I mean? Give them the best thing to use to give you the best communication they can. Right. You know what I'm saying? Right. I don't know. Did I go all off track here or what?
No. You're right on, because, and it's funny because I was talking to a friend of mine the other day about the same thing, and she really wanted to get one of my ghost boxes, and I said, look, you've never really done any ITC work using a ghost box. It's going to take a lot of time, and she had a couple of investigations coming up, and I said, you know what, you haven't been using it long enough for you to get any legitimate type of results for what you're looking for. And I said, honestly, if you want to get a box, I'll get you a box, but it's going to take some practice. It's going to take some time. It's going to take some effort. But if you're willing to put all of that in, then, in the long run, it's going to pay off. But right off the bat, you're going to have to learn how to differentiate the radio broadcast coming through and spirit communication. It takes time.
It's weird because somebody messaged me today and asked about one of your boxes. They said it was at work. A woman messaged me today and said, should I get a box from Rod Hernandez? Do you know anything about them? Are they good boxes? And I said, absolutely not. Stay away from that guy. Stay away from his boxes. I'm just breaking them.
I know. That was
what
great.
You're saying is, see, there's a lot of merit to what you're saying, Rob, because a lot of people don't understand. A ghost box, when you turn on a ghost box or any live spirit communication device, okay, if you turn that device on, what it does is it opens up a connection between our physical world and the spirit world, or wherever you believe the communication is coming from. I can't say emphatically, I know we're getting communication from spirits of deceased human beings. I know that for a fact because I've spoken to people in my family that are deceased. I've communicated with other entities that I know were living human beings. So I know that's part of the communication, at least, is coming from the spirit realm. Are we getting communication from other places, other dimensions, other time, different time, places, the past, the future, is the communication telekinetic? There's a lot of variables there, but wherever we're getting it from, it boils down to the same couple of basic needs. Okay. When you get a device that you're going to use for live spirit communication, that device has to be what I coined years ago as imprinting. Okay. When the device opens up that connection between both sides, wherever you're communicating with, they send an energy signal to the box to form the communication. In turn, when you communicate with them, your energy signature, your energy is physical energy, is going across to the other side. So there's a mutual exchange of energy. Now, the box itself of course, being run by electricity and having circuits and having vibrations come through the speaker, and then it absorbs that energy. And you have to use, like a lot of people say, well, I got this ghost box, I turned it on and I really didn't get anything. And then I turned it on a couple of days later, I really didn't get anything, so I don't use it anymore. You get a new ghost box, it's going to take you a while to imprint your energy and their energy onto that box. And what happens is the energy signature, the imprinting, when you use the same box continuously, right? You go and you turn that box on. As soon as you turn that box on, that connection, that energy signature from that particular device is familiar to them on the other side. They know what the special frequency that it uses. They know the special energy signature that that particular device has. And they have become accustomed to using it to communicate. So therefore, you get a better quality and a better quantity of communication. So that's number one. Imprinting on your box, on your device is number one. Number two, you have to, and a lot of people don't even realize this, you have to have an ear for listening to ghost box communication. This is what you just said. You have to be able to differentiate between the odd pieces of stray radio signal that you're going to receive and what's actually communication. And that only comes with experience.
Yes.
See, when I tried to explain this to people all through the years, I used to tell them, I used to liken it to a piano tuner. Like if you become an apprentice to a piano tuner, right, you're going to have to use a metronome, a tuning fork. You're going to have to use things to help you tune that piano because you don't know what the tones are supposed to sound like, or you can't recognize the correct tone just like that, just off the top of your head. But the guy that you're learning from, the master piano tuner, he can get in there and tune that piano without anything, just by ear. And he does that because he's got the experience. He's been doing it for so long. His ear has become accustomed. His hearing has become accustomed to differentiating the types of sound. So if you work with a ghost box or any spirit device, any live communication device, it's going to take a while for you to develop your ear for listening to that, to hear the communication like. Plus, I mean, I think I've been pretty much doing this as I've been listening to ghost boxes pretty much as long as anybody else in this world, right? So still, I'm only averaging about 20-25% of the total communication in a session, hearing it live.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And basically, I'm only capable of hearing maybe up to a 3-word phrase. If I get a sentence that's got 5, 6, 8 words in it, I'm not hearing that whole sentence. I'm hearing bits and pieces of it. You know what I mean? So, people turn it on, they expect to hear, somebody recite Mary Had a Little Lamb. That's not going to happen. You know what I mean? You have to understand. And plus, you got to be realistic when you do ghost box communication. You have to realize, just in order, if you can turn on a ghost box and you can get them and you can say, hi, is anybody there that wishes to communicate today, or to any entities that would like to send a message, and somebody turns around and says, hi, Bruce, or hi, Rob, or hi, Josh, that in itself is a freaking miracle. Mm-hmm. Yeah. You know what I mean? That's a gift. That is a gift to you. You know what I mean? Like that is something that is, it's otherworldly. You know what I mean? And people just say, well, I heard my name, or I heard yes, no, I heard hello and stuff like that. But, I want to hear, I want to actually talk to my Uncle Sid. You know what I mean? I want to find out where he buried the money. I want to find out, but, it doesn't work like that.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. And so much of that, Bruce, you said everything perfectly. And so much of that is, I try and encourage people that come to me to try and learn how to do this. Replay, replay, replay. You're going to hear things at multiple decibel levels. Like you said, you'll have a chance to hear those sentences that have 6, 7, 8 words. You'll understand at that point how the communication is coming in, and then you adjust your best practices next time. So every time you use the box, you say, I think I heard the start of a sentence. I can't wait to replay it. You play it back, you hear it, and you go, okay, now I understand how they're communicating. And you really have to experience that yourself. It's hard to take someone else's word for that.
Yeah, a lot of people don't realize that the communication from, now I'm speaking about traditional sweeping ghost boxes.
Correct.
I'm not talking about apps or anything that incorporates a scrambled MP3 file or anything like that.
Forward speech.
I'm talking about traditional radio sweeping ghost boxes.
Right. Mm-hmm.
The way a ghost box works, for you guys out there that don't know, I mean, I'm pretty sure if you're listening to this show, you got a good idea how a ghost box works, but I'm going to tell you anyway.
Our audience is smart. They know a lot, yeah.
Yeah. I don't mean to insult anybody, but I just want to get this basic thing out there. I mean, a ghost box runs on, a ghost box is nothing more than a radio that's been adapted to sweep either the AM or FM band fast enough to break down words and sentences of broadcast into small fragments, which in turn are used by the entity, pieced together to form words and sentences. Okay? So the key word in there is pieced together. See, a lot of people say, well, you know, I asked for my mother, and my mother supposedly came through, and she told me something. She said something that was familiar to me that really only she would know, but she said it in a man's voice. You know?
Well,
why is that? Why doesn't it sound like my mother? Because the entity that's forming the communication, in order to form those words that they sent, were only able to grab whatever was available at that moment. See, if an entity had to wait, if you said, can you say my name, for instance, right? Say, is anybody there? If you're communicating with me today, can you please say my name, right? And 30 seconds later, you hear your name. Mm-hmm. Irrelevant. It's irrelevant. It's not in an ample amount of time where you asked your question. You know what I mean? So if they had to wait, if the entities that are communicating had to wait for specific fragments of sound to form communication in what sounded like their physical voice, you may get a response 10 minutes later to a question that you asked 10 minutes earlier.
Correct.
If they had to wait to grab the specific fragments, they'll utilize whatever's available at that moment to send the communication in a relevant amount of time, which is about 10 to 12 seconds. Mm-hmm. If you don't receive a relevant answer or a relevant statement to your question or topic within 10 to 12 seconds of asking your question or making a statement, then it becomes less and less viable. The longer it goes to get that response, the less valid it is, because then it can be pertaining to something else. Unless it's a real specific answer, like if you said, can you tell me, my clock on the wall, can you tell me exactly what time it is? And a minute later you heard someone say it's 3:00, and it was 3:00 when you asked that question. Of course, it's a validating answer to your question. But see, they won't do that. For some reason, I shouldn't say for some reason. The technicians are running the show on the other side, and they know the process and they know what needs to be done. So they make sure that the communication, if it's sent, is sent in a viable amount of time. You know what I mean? Pertaining to your question or your topic. Yeah. Am I running off at the mouth or what?
No. I mean, because you just like nailed it. And that's the thing. Like, the funny thing is, you talk about impression on a ghost box.
Imprinting. Let's get it right, Rob. Imprinting, not impression.
Okay, imprinting your energy to that box. For a long time, I was a skeptic, and I'll be the first to admit it, because, I wasn't getting anything. And like what you said, it just, I did a few sessions here and there, wasn't getting anything. And I was like, yeah, this is just like a broken radio, just scanning through radio stations, and I would throw it aside. Then I started working with other types of forms of ITC. And then I said, you know what, let me get that ghost box back out. I pulled it out, and lo and behold, I was getting full sentences. I was getting things.
That was your choice alone, right? To do that? You think that?
Yeah, it was my choice alone. Right.
No, you were manipulated into doing that by somebody on the other side. They put the thought in your mind. Go get that
Right.
ghost box out again. We want to talk to you. You know what I mean?
I mean, no, that's that's totally valid with what you just said.
You
So
want to hear a funny story?
sure.
Before I started with the ghost boxes, I mean, I was into the paranormal for years before I got into ghost box communication.
Mhm.
I had an investigating team in Southern New Jersey. I had, I did extensive EVP research for years. And Steve Holte emails me one day, and he wanted to join my paranormal team. But by the time he contacted me, we had already disbanded the team. People were doing different things in their lives. They went different directions, and we just broke the team up. So all I was doing at that point was, a lot of solid EVP work. And I said, no, when I don't have the team anymore, we're not, so it's irrelevant. Okay, great. Thanks anyway, blah, blah, blah. And that was it. A couple months later, I get another email from him. And he says to me, listen, I got a question for you. He says, have you ever heard of something called the ghost box? So I said, no, what is it? So he said, he explained to me what it was. He told me who Frank Sumption was. And he said, what do you think? I said, turning on a radio that just flies back and forth across the band and you're going to get spirits to communicate? Total bullshit. I said, forget it. It's not working. I said, don't waste your time.
Tell us how you feel, Bruce.
So now listen, I'm doing EVP work, and I keep getting messages. I keep getting EVPs that keep saying the box, the box, the box, the box. So I emailed Steve, and I said to him, I said, listen, I said, on second thought, I said, I'd like to look into this. I'd like to see what it entails. I want more information on it. So he said, go over to Frank Sumption's Yahoo group, join the Yahoo group. There's a ton of people on there. You'll get all the information you want. But when I went over there, nobody had ghost boxes. Nobody was doing any ghost box because nobody had them. A lot of people, a few people were doing manual sweeps, but that was it. Right. So when I went over there and asked for information, one of the moderators, this woman, Dawn, she says to me, just get yourself a radio with a dial. Ask the question and just turn the dial back and forth. You'll get an answer.
Marcello Bacci, yeah.
Yeah, so I said, this woman's got to be kidding me. But I had a radio. At that time, I had a bar in my house, right? And I had a radio sitting on the bar. So I said, let me go give it a try. I turn the radio on. I said, is anybody there that wants to communicate with me? And I start turning the dial, once forward, once back, forward again, and I hear my name loud and clear. Bruce. I ran out of the room because it shocked me so much. I was not expecting to hear anything. It shocked me so much that I didn't know what to do. So I ran out of the room. When I composed myself, I went back in and I did it again. And I started to get yes and no answers. And I started to get hellos. And I started to get stuff like that, the rudimentary stuff. And that was it. I was hooked. Done. Yeah. And from then on, I've concentrated only on ITC since that day.
Yeah. Right. I mean, it's just like anything else, like what you were saying, you do EVP sessions just using a recorder. It's like what you said, you're going to get one or two words. Once in a while, you'll get something like, a full sentence almost. But it's the same thing. So you have to kind of put, if you've done EVP recording, just sessions using a recorder, it's no different than using a ghost box. So,
and the standing theory with that is that it's a process of what's called stochastic resonance, which is when you have a signal that's very weak, but by adding white noise, which is just all of the frequencies, random frequencies, you're actually giving them the ability in that white noise to combine that weak signal and use those frequencies in the white noise to create their message, similar to what you were saying earlier, Bruce. Yeah. So the stochastic resonance is believed to be a part of the process with that communication.
Well, that also plays a part in ghost box communication.
Exactly, EVP or ghost box. And I think what stochastic resonance teaches us is that sometimes when, like you said, Bruce, people want to hear from their loved ones in their voice, remember, a lot of the times they make, a female may come through sounding like a male because of the available frequencies or the lack thereof, and or whatever availability they could use from the process of stochastic resonance, which is combining that white noise with the weak frequencies. So,
well, the white noise in a ghost box communication, I've come to believe, I've come to find out that they actually use the white noise and the blips of music and stuff like that as filler.
Like, that's actually a good analogy.
They'll use the white noise, the static noise, to form S's.
Exactly.
Words,
yes. Yes.
They actually use it as filler. You know what I mean? But it is definitely used. It is definitely used.
Right. I didn't mean to insinuate it's the entire process, but that stochastic resonance does seem to help contribute or add an additional resource to pull some of those random frequencies, like you said, to form an S or to complete a word clear and phonetically accurately. So very interesting though. Yeah, an EVP and the radio have a lot in common because we're talking about the EM spectrum. Both devices have electromagnetic shielding properties, and we're again dealing with white noise. And like you said, Bruce, blips of audio, music, broadcast voices to form that fragmentative communication. Which now you've been doing this since, probably now 16 years, like you said.
Pretty much, yeah. Close to it, yeah.
And speaking from experience, I'm probably 11 years into it, but I understand how much further along you are, and I'm learning so much from you. And again, I'm 11 years into it.
It's not about that. It's about, like, the only reason is that I'm at the point I'm at is because when I started, there was nobody, just me and Steve, doing ghost box research. Were people using, back in 2005, were people using ghost boxes? Yeah, whoever could get their hands on a Frank's box or a Joe's box was turning them on. Nobody was doing research. Nobody was compiling data, compiling sessions and recordings and going through them and trying to and asking specific questions to try and further the information about what was going on, who we were talking to, where they were communicating from, how they were communicating, stuff like that. So we actually, and I'm telling you, I used to get up in the morning, right? I would do a session in the morning, go to work, come home from work, go over the session, and then eat dinner. After dinner, I would get on Skype with Steve, and we would go over the sessions we did that day. We'd go over the recordings and discuss whatever information we got, and then we would plan the session for the next day. And we did that 7 days a week for years. Wow. You know what I mean? And it was hours a day, every day for years. So, we basically, my whole foundation was we had to learn from them on the other side, what was going on.
Yeah.
We had to learn, we had to get all our information from that and then formulate. Like I said, Steve he used to do his sessions, go over them, get his communication, we would discuss it, but he was never a guy to sit down and say, why? Why is that? You know what I mean? Well, how is that? And then like I said, he was more always interested in the tech side of it. So I had to sit down and figure out what was going on and formulate some kind of hypothesis and put it out there. You know what I mean? Develop protocols, right? And you know how many articles I wrote and documents and that were published in in groups and in paranormal magazines and books, stuff like that explain. People still today message me and ask me how to do a basic ghost box session.
Yeah.
I mean, and of course they do, because there's a lot of people today. There is a lot of people that are getting more and more interested in it, in our end of the field, with traditional sweeping boxes and hack boxes, and stuff like that. So a lot of people, I've been getting an influx of people lately asking me about, where can I get a device? Where can I get a custom box? How do I, and then once they get it, see, I open a floodgate because I help everybody no matter what. I mean, I don't care who you are, where you are, when you are. You ask me for help, I'm there for you. You know what I mean? And usually you have to walk them through it. You have to hold their hand through the whole process. You know what I mean? Which I don't mind doing. It's just that I know when somebody messages me and says, where do I get a good custom ghost box? And I turn them on to somebody and they buy one. I know that's at least a 6-month commitment. You know what I mean? Because they're going to message me every day. How do I do this? How do I do that? Why did this happen? Why did that happen? Why ain't I getting this? Why ain't I getting that? You know?
Well, and when you were talking about all of the theory that you've posted to obviously various sites, one of the things I wanted to bring up was your discussion or your, how do I say, I don't want to, it's not an invention, but how you got in contact with spirit text or any type of text like that.
What do you mean? Technicians on the other side?
Exactly. Like spirit, like Tom, Lisa, Eva, Michael, and some of so many that we hear on Rob's show on Saturday. We constantly hear them. And that's one of the things that impressed me the most because I've witnessed it. I've documented it. So many of our colleagues have documented it. So it's just one of those things that I wanted to ask you about because you know so much about.
Well, back in the day, of course, when it was all brand new, we just started doing real sessions and stuff like that. And I started to notice that there was always the same, there was a variation of entities coming through, but there was always the same 2 or 3 entities that would come through and make it a point to let me know that they were there, Right. So I became familiar with them. So finally I said to myself, I'm going to have to find out who they are. Why are they constantly there? You know what I mean? So I started to do sessions specifically to get information on who these entities were. And my 2 technicians that have been with me since day one, they're with me every single session I do up until today. It's Mike and Lisa, right? Yeah. And of course, there's other technicians. There's a Tom, there's a Bill.
Yes.
There's a Dave. There's a bunch of other technicians. I don't know whether they change or whether they have different shifts or whatever the case may be. Right. But when I turn on a ghost box, I let them know. See, when we do ghost box communication, we don't utilize a microphone or anything like that. The entities we're communicating with hear our verbal speech without the aid of us using any mechanical device to send our voice. Right.
Well,
so if they can hear us, no matter when we speak, if they're listening, you know what I mean?
And that's go ahead.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to say, because they literally hear everything we say and they know so many personal details.
Right.
It's incredible. And that comes through in the communication and you realize this and you go, oh my gosh, this is intelligent consciousness of some kind.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And before I do a session, I always let them know prior to doing the session. I let my techs know that I'm about to do a session, for them to, get ready, get yourself warmed up, whatever you need to do. Because in 5 minutes, I'm going to turn the box on and we're going to do a session, and they're always, they'll answer me. They'll communicate before I open my mouth.
Right.
As soon as I turn that box on, they're letting me know that they're there. The second that I turn that box on, you know what I mean? And it makes me laugh every time because I say, "Well, you guys are over there chomping at the bit." I mean, let me at least say the date and time and everything of the session. Let me get that out of the way before you start, spitting out stuff. Relax, And they got a good sense of humor because we've been together so long.
Yeah.
They kid me, I kid them, and we talk back and forth. Matter of fact, my tech Mike, the way he lets me know he's there, he always says the same phrase. "What's up, Bruce?" That's his thing. Like I'll say, "Mike, you and Lisa are around. Can you help me out today?" "What's up, Bruce?" Every time, every single session. So I know it's him. You know what I mean? Unless somebody took him hostage and is using his phrase. I mean.
Right. And that's so much of what we don't know, like you just said. And you kind of said that jokingly, but it's true. We sometimes don't know if something's being mimicked to us or, there's misleading information somehow or from the source. And that in terms of the text, what's so interesting is that they make themselves known at multiple times throughout the communication. Like you said, they'll let you know they're there. And I've found that on Rob's show is that they're so prevalent throughout the entire set of communication, and you'll hear them multiple times to almost reassure you they're there. Rob, I know you can speak to that, but it's just since you've brought that to the attention of the ITC community.
Right.
People are acknowledging that these names are there, and they're acknowledging that these texts are there. And to know that you had such a large part in bringing that awareness to us, because we might hear these names over and over again and may not know what's going on,
Right.
but to ask the right questions like you did to find out.
Well, now without a technician, you couldn't have ghost box communication. If you didn't have a technician, you wouldn't get any communication.
That's what I wanted to. Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
A technician's job is to oversee the session, and they're a gatekeeper.
Right.
They help protect that opening between our world and the spirit world, make sure that nothing goes back and forth. You know what I mean? They don't want any entities coming through the portal to our side and then getting stuck here once we close the box and that portal closes. If an entity traveled through, they're here now and they're not getting back until you turn that box back on. You know what I mean?
Right.
So you'll hear me, if you ever hear one of my session recordings, you'll hear me at the end of the session. I say, okay, Mike, Lisa, I'm ready to shut down. Any entities that may have traveled through, make sure that they go back. Let me know when it's safe to shut down. And I have to wait for that verbal confirmation before I shut that box off.
Right.
So they have a very important job.
And I was going to ask you about that, and not to debate, but I know that you and Steve Holte have discussed this, and I know Steve has been more verbal about they're not necessary for the communication. I'm just stating his theory that they're not necessary all the time, or they're not, they're there, but they're not. It's not necessary to facilitate communication. And you're a proponent of these texts are an imperative part or of the puzzle piece of the communication, that they have to be there.
Well, you're kind of off the mark there just a little bit.
Correct me, please.
Steve's opinion is not that the texts are not needed. He agrees that they are needed.
Okay.
He doesn't agree that we should, like, he doesn't understand the idea of me interacting with my text throughout the session. You know what I mean?
Oh, I see.
Like,
okay.
Why do you constantly ask Mike and Lisa for information throughout your session? Why do you constantly invoke their name during the session? And, you heard the other night you were on our show last Friday, and you heard me and him got into a little debate there.
That's why I was bringing it up. Yeah.
So he's of the opinion that, you really only need a text help, personal help when you're new. Once you're established and you have experience and know what you're doing, you don't have to rely on a technician anymore, which is absolutely not true. You know what I mean? Like I said, if they weren't there, you would not be getting any communication. You wouldn't be doing ghost box communication. Not only that, if there's an entity, say you ask for your grandmother, just say, right? You want to speak to your grandmother. Part of the technician's responsibility is to find her and bring her forward to communicate. Now, there's entities that never communicated using a ghost box. They don't know what they're doing. So the technician needs to help them to facilitate the communication.
Right. Yeah.
There's communication that's done between entities that are in this physical world, but at a different location. Say you went on an investigation to a haunted location. You took a ghost box, you got communication from somebody named George, just say. Right? Now, you decided to do a ghost box session at your house a week later, and you wanted to speak to that entity that you spoke to when you did your investigation. Your technician would actually relay your communication to them and relay their communication to you, which would allow you to speak to an entity that was not in proximity to your box, but was in the physical world. And I mean, so they do a lot of things that aid us in our communication, and without them, we wouldn't be doing it.
Well, I can tell you this from my experience, and I don't have your experience as long, but when I listened to Rob's show on Saturday, exactly what you're talking about happens. The communication, I believe, because it's a group setting, even though we're physically displaced, we're from everywhere around the world on the Saturday night show, is that our collective energy and our intent is concentrating on this show, and you can hear the text come through immediately. I mean, Rob turns on the box. I hear Lisa. I hear Tom.
Now,
Eva comes through all the time.
Collective energy is separated here in the physical world. When it reaches the spirit world, it's combined into one place. The technicians that are running Rob's session, when he starts that ghost box up, whatever energy you're directing towards his session or anybody else in the world is directing towards his session winds up in the spot where his technician is taking care of his session. Mm-hmm. You're separate. Your physical energy is separated around the world. Whoever's physical human being is participating in that session. But in the spirit world, whatever tech is running that session is gathering that energy into one place. Okay. So It all culminates in that one spot.
And it's so funny because there's been times when we ask the technician to, just because there's so many responses coming through, that we ask the technician to, can we slow down the session? Yeah. Can we please have spirits come through slower or one at a time? And then immediately within 5 seconds, 10 seconds, it slows down.
Yeah, you know, it's just crazy. You know how many times I say that? And the reason that happens is because when you turn on a ghost box, I always liken it to a moth to a flame. When you turn on a ghost box, the energy signature that's exuded in the spirit world attracts spirits. It attracts the entities to it because it gives them an opportunity to send a message to the physical world. Now, their opportunity to send that message, they don't know that Bruce or Rob or Josh is listening to it. They may want to send a message to their son, Danny, somewhere in Oklahoma. You know what I mean? But the only opportunity they have to get a message to the physical world is your open ghost box session. Right. So all of these entities will rush that ghost box session and try to they'll all start yelling communication at the same time. There's where your technician comes in. Your technician now is there to keep order. So what he'll do is he'll calm things down and he'll take them in order. He'll take entities in order and have them send whatever messages they need to send through one at a time. You know what I mean? You'll still get, and I don't know, I'm sure you've come across this, both of you, in some session somewhere along the line where you'll hear communications that sounded like they were yelled from another room.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. There's entities in the back of the line that are yelling communication.
So Bruce, you're telling me we cross over and we pass into another dimension or the afterlife or heaven or the astral plane, and we still have to deal with customer service? We still have to get in the line and take a number.
You still got to deal with the supervisor.
There's got to be a manager, and then we've got employees. Oh my gosh!
It's an odd thing because when you mention that, like you mentioned hearing a communication that may be in a distance, right? And an entity that may have been further away from where the communication was being delivered,
right,
yells that communication from a distance.
Right.
That gives you the indication that they're actually using some sort of mechanical device.
Yeah.
Some sort of transmitter to send that communication.
I've picked that up on a few of my radio sessions as some of my most unique communication. And they've literally verbally said testing, and then they'll send like a dotted eighth note or dotted quarter note. Right. And it'll go beep, 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 and they'll say, hear it? And I'll always say yes, but that's it. That's the end of the test. I don't get any additional information after that.
Well, they don't need to give you any more. It wasn't for you. They just needed you to say whether you heard it or not.
Well, no, exactly. I'm like, who am I? They just want to know if I heard it. But
no, it's not that. It's just that that's I guess mundane. They do that on their side. That's like you, right. Like Rob, before you get the show started, you start the show and you text Rob, I hear an echo. Do you hear an echo?
Right.
Right. And he messages you back, no, I didn't hear an echo. Me and the audience is not privy to that information. That's you guys are running the show, so you do that back and forth.
Right.
We don't know what's going on behind the scenes.
Sure.
Unless you say to me, Bruce, do you hear an echo? And I say, no, I don't hear an echo. Oh, okay. You're not going to give me a whole explanation on why you asked me if I heard an echo. You know what I mean?
It does contribute to what you were saying, is that it does appear like over time we've documented, and I can't say this 100%, but it does appear like they're working with some type of equipment or transmitter, that it's not just mental thought or energy.
I don't know if either one of you guys ever listened to my stuff on YouTube.
On the Frank Sumption fan club.
Well, I post them on the Yahoo groups, but I got a YouTube channel with all, that's where I post them. Then I put the link on like a few paranormal groups on Facebook.
Okay.
Anyway,
right.
you know my videos, right?
Mhm.
Yes. Uh-huh.
Okay.
Yeah.
Not the last one. I think the one before that I posted had a noise, a clink in it, like they dropped something metallic. And I'm asking a question, and I hear a bing, and I said, wow, I just heard a clink, like you guys dropped something metallic. Did you drop something? And they came back immediately and said, yes, we dropped it. So if they're dropping something that can make a mechanical sound, make a metallic, not mechanical, metallic sound, they must be using some sort of tangible device there. Now how does that work? How do they have tangible metal stuff that can make a sound in the spiritual world? You know what I mean? I thought everything there was ethereal. All these years, I believe that, nothing is solid. There's no solid, like you can't drop a wrench or a cup and have it make a sound. You know what I mean?
Well, and when we interpret that these astral planes, I'll just say for lack of better words, are at a higher frequency, and you think about that high frequency and it being in an energy state rather than a slow frequency solid state, and then now we're getting evidence that they have equipment. You're going, yeah, how does that work? The theories that have been prior to Ghostbox was that it was just mental energy or somehow just transmitting thought into energy.
Now you're going to remember this from the other night.
Yeah.
I'll ask them the question. When I hear something like that, I'll say, hey, are you guys actually using, tangible solid devices, or do you have solid objects on that side that could make a noise like that? And they'll come back with the response, chocolate cake.
That's great. Yes, I remember that.
So,
yeah.
I mean, they never, in all my years of doing this and all the thousands of sessions that I've done, I have never gotten a completely straight answer.
They joke a lot.
Interpretational.
Yeah.
You can ask a direct question and they'll give you the answer. But they'll give you the answer in the form of, they think they're playing Jeopardy. They answer you in the form of a question. You know what I mean? Like you have to figure out whether that's the meaning of or what they meant exactly. You know what I mean?
Well said.
But that comes down to it too. I've done a ton of research on, are they allowed to give us specific information? Can they tell us specific things? How much can they tell us? And I've been told time and time again, no, we cannot tell you everything. There are certain things we can't tell you. There's things we can't explain to you. There's things that you're not supposed to know. So I guess it falls into that category. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, and there appears to be rules of engagement. If we were speaking to high officials in the government or the FBI or CIA, there's only certain things we can know, and it does seem to be a rules of engagement. A lot of the times I've heard them talking amongst themselves if they should tell me something or not, or if they decide to tell me something. So, and that's that. I'm sitting there listening, like, guys, like I can hear you talking about me, and if I'm, if I should be hearing certain information, I'm right here.
Right, like, you don't even exist.
Right.
I've had, how many times it comes through to me, that I ask for somebody to say, if somebody says my name, I'll say, yeah, I heard you. I'm here. Who is that? Can you tell me your name? And I get no, and then I'll hear one of my texts say your name. You know what I mean? And they'll actually, you'll hear them talk to each other. You know what I mean? Like, and you'll hear them discuss things back and forth, and you'll say, what is that? What are they talking about? I know that's communication, but I have no idea what they're talking about. And they'll try to muffle it. They'll try to say it in a muffled fashion. I mean, sometimes it'll get through, and sometimes it'll just sound like gibberish, and it's communication, but that's them communicating with each other. That's another indication of them using some sort of transmitting device.
Well, and it literally sounds like they're going like this, or they'll
but still, it's picking up their conversation.
Yeah,
it's not directly, if they were sending it directly in an ethereal way and not a mechanical way.
Thought projection, right?
Right. Wouldn't it be that you would only hear what was intended for you to hear? It's like us talking to each other with a live microphone on,
Right. There does seem to be genuine scientific properties of the physics we know in this dimension. Again, white noise, stochastic resonance, the EM spectrum. There seems to be a need for it to happen, because if you think about, like you said, just mental or thought or energy projection, you would hear maybe just the intended communication, nothing else. It wouldn't sound like a party line half the time with a room full of people. There does seem to be a lot of evidence to what you're discussing.
Very, very tough to get technical information.
Exactly.
Yes. Absolutely. And I mean, there's been times when we've heard actual, spirit, kind of like in the background. So we're getting communication, but like very faintly in the back, you hear arguing happening between multiple spirit. It's crazy.
They do argue.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And like what you were saying, like during my broadcast, I will get what it sounds like Morse code coming through every few minutes. It's just weird. And it's always like the same type of tone.
And similar, I've been tested with those types of tones as well, Rob, in a different way. But I feel like we're all documenting some type of process now where there does seem to be something physical that's being used, something that works with frequency, a transmitter, like you said, Bruce, for very general terms.
Now, I've asked that specific question time and time and time again. Do you guys use a variation of the ghost box on that side? Are you receiving our communication through a speaker or a device? Are you sending communication using a device? Or you did? Never get a definitive answer. Never get a definitive answer.
Likewise, when I've asked, other than the testing sequences I've experienced and documented, I have not received any straight, direct answer to that same question.
I got a cool message today. At the end of a session, right before I close down, I'll always say, if there are any other entities that want to communicate, I'll give you another 15 seconds to send any message you want. Go ahead, right?
Yep.
And today, a woman came through and she said, "Can you hear the guitar? Bring, strum the guitar."
Yeah.
Right after she said it, And I said, "Wow, that's pretty cool." I said, Did you just play the guitar?" Yeah. You know what I mean? And to me, that's like so cool. You know what I mean? Because you're not getting any better than that. You know what I'm saying? They're telling you that they're actually playing the guitar. They didn't play it didn't sound too good though. Like it wasn't like a full chord or anything. It was just like like you gave a 2-year-old the guitar. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they need a tuner. You still have to have a tuner. Frequency is frequency.
Right, exactly, yeah.
Right. No, Bruce,
Go ahead.
I was going to say, I've documented that with my cousin. I think I've discussed this with you. She lost her fiance to brain cancer 6 months before they were to get married. Yeah. She approached me. I make no disclaimers. I have a disclaimer that I have no proof or guarantee of anything. She still wanted to try it on her own free will. We've been contacting Brian for the last 5 years, and he was a musician, and we've heard the same type of, he played the trumpet. We hear trumpet notes, and we hear the guitar playing as well, a full strum. And I've documented that as well. And that again leads to the idea of physical objects somehow existing.
And not only that, that's kind of their way, like that happens a lot with different things. It's a signal to whoever's listening or whoever they want to get that message across that, yes, it is me. Because that's an indication of he was a musician. He played the trumpet, he played the guitar, whatever. That's his way of saying, I'm sending you this sound so that yes, it is me communicating. You know what I mean? So they do that a lot.
We get it all the time, and I find that fascinating. It's such an amazing form of communication and confirmation of this intelligent consciousness. I mean, it's really hard to deny that type of evidence.
I'm very lucky. I enjoy very clear, lengthy communication. And in today's session, I got one of the clearest, best communications that I've ever gotten. I mean, came through and it's like irrefutable, because you can't chalk it up to radio signal, because first of all, it was a 6-word communication, 3 words, and then my acknowledgement in the middle, and then another 3 words. So all 6 words came through in the same exact voice, same exact woman's voice, relevant to the question that I asked, and within seconds of me asking the question. So there's no way it could have been, any of it could have been stray radio signal, because it would, you're not making a 6-word communication out of catching those exact words of stray radio signal. You know what I mean? So it's irrefutable as far as that goes.
Right. Well, the statistical probability
was so clear that it was like I'm talking to you now. That's how I heard it, like the way I'm talking to you now. And it kind of caught me by surprise, because I'm not used to listening to that crisp communication. You know what I mean? Like you're used to the ghost box communication. You have to listen. You have to listen to it. You have to listen to the ghost box to catch the communication live. This came through so crisp that it actually took me aback for a second. Right. And I couldn't, like you said before, I couldn't wait to get to the review of the recording to find that spot, you know, and isolate that communication and just to listen to it a couple more times and say, wow, this really is, you know, no matter how long I've been doing this, no matter how much I do it, they always surprise me with something. And I'll be posting that communication in a couple of days, so you guys can hear it. You know?
Yeah, I can't wait to hear that.
Yeah, there's never. This is one of those research areas that never gets old. And I know it's that phrase is used a lot with a lot of different things in life, but it truly, every time you conduct a session and you analyze your research and you listen back, it's always surprising. It's always amazing. I mean,
well, it's always different. It's always different.
It's always different.
Something new. You know what I mean? There's always some new type of thing coming through, or, you know, a new recently in the last few sessions I've done, and this came out of left field. Why they sent this to me is, your guess is as good as mine. They send me the name Itzhak Perlman, right? Now, the full name, and they say, look it up. Search the name, was the communication I got. Itzhak Perlman, search the name. So now, I didn't hear this live. I found it in review of the recording, right? So I go on Google, I search the name, it winds up that the man is an Israeli violinist. He's like the #1 violinist in the world, right? So next session, I turn the box on, get my pleasantries out of the way, and I said, hey guys, I said, last session, somebody sent me a communication mentioning the name Itzhak Perlman, told me to search for the name. I did the search. I came up with Itzhak Perlman is a violinist in Israel. Yes. Okay. Why did you send me that name? What's the reasoning behind it? He's sick. So I said, okay, he's sick. I heard it live, repeated it. I said, do I need to do something with that information? Do you want me to use that information for some reason? No. So I said, okay. Does he know he's sick? No. So I said, okay. What do you need me to do? Nothing. So now that ended the communication, that set of communication. But the reason they sent me that is, this happened to me once before, many years ago. That's a validation for them. They're sending me a specific validation. So now I document that. I already posted it online. It's posted at a specific time on a specific day, right? And it's publicly posted. So now when this gentleman, if he ever does, come out with the public statement that he is sick, I already have documentation that says I had the communication that he was sick before he publicly announced it. So I guess that's their validation. I got one like that years ago about Patrick Swayze. It said, Patrick Swayze, critical danger, right? So I get on Skype with Steve at night. We're playing our files back and forth. I said to him, listen to this file, man, about Patrick Swayze. So he listens to it. He says, yeah, that's weird, man. That's really weird. We put it away. About a month later, Patrick Swayze announced on the news that he's got terminal cancer. So that, I didn't even see it. Steve called me up. He said, you see the thing about Patrick Swayze? I said, no, what? Yeah, the guy's got cancer. Oh my God, that file you got, the communication you got, it's unbelievable, man. They told you, a month ago that the guy had, and that in itself, I mean, prediction files, right?
Yeah, and for better or for worse, the information is whatever they want to share with us. And sometimes they volunteer that and we don't even ask. And there you are picking up critical information
for validation purposes, to let us know, hey, yeah, you know what I mean? We are telling you, we are giving you communication. And
right.
You can post this, you can document this. This is your proof. You know what I mean?
Right.
But I mean, you could take that, if you put that in front of a skeptic, they're just going to tell you, we don't know when you did that. Or, you know what I mean? And until we can get a skeptic up there, a stone skeptic, and turn on a ghost box and have his dead father or mother or whatever talk to him.
Uh-oh.
What happened to Bruce?
We lost him.
Oh, well, this is interesting. Well, and I guess I'll just go ahead and finish up what Bruce was saying, in the sense that for a skeptic, when they get behind a good piece of equipment and someone with experience and someone who knows what they're doing with a ghost box, and they hear that for the first time, it's something you have to experience for yourself in person. And it's such an understatement even to say that. It really becomes clear once you witness this and experience it yourself. And you can calculate all you want, all the statistical probabilities of how this communication may or may not be coming in. And audio pareidolia is an issue that happens, and that happens in daily life when we're not listening to radios, when we're listening to radios or not listening to radios. And it's about training your ear. And just like anything else in life, the more you do something, the more you practice something, the more you put energy and intent and positivity and forward progression and proactivity into something, you're going to reap those rewards. What you put in is what you get out. And
exactly. And we were, somebody was mentioning my boxes earlier, how anytime somebody gets one of my boxes, they'll either hear my name, but about 95% of the time, as soon as they turn it on, they'll hear their name, or sometimes even their full name. So yeah, it's just crazy. It's crazy.
Literally showing ownership of the box, or that they're where'd you go? Yeah. I thought you were just done with that.
I think Rob didn't like what I was saying, so he cut me off.
Yeah, just mid-sentence. Rob.
It's the only way to shut this guy up. Let me close him down for a few minutes.
He'll do it to me at some point when I do my education series or boredom bombs. I'm sure one of these days I'm going to ramble on. He's going to be like, dude, enough. We're losing losing viewers. Like, you got to stop.
I actually had to reload the page. That's what I did.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah,
I think Katie Holte came in 7.
Yeah. It must have been her, because she brings a bad karma.
Of course. It's okay. We love you, Katie.
Wayne said he was a skeptic on ITC until it proved himself over and over.
Right. Yeah, the consistency, statistical modeling. Even if we learned in statistics class or in mathematics, just document everything. And over a time, look at the patterns that have been developed. And even if you look at this from statistical probability, you have to understand that we are receiving intelligent, conscious communication amongst the audio pareidolia, amongst the radio broadcasts. I mean, you have to train your ear. And once you do, and it's like riding a bike, you never forget it. And it's something that you just progress and get better at over time. I'm so better at researching and receiving and interpreting and analyzing this information now than I was when I first started. Leaps and bounds.
Oh yeah, sure. Leaps of course. With experience, yeah.
Right. And that's, now I'm happy to, when people approach me, Bruce, I know people approach you all the time. Rob, people approach you all the time. We share that experience and say, listen, it takes time. Be patient. It's not something that happens overnight. Now, for some people, it happens maybe a little sooner than others, but that's like anything else in life. I may shoot 3 free throws better than someone else, or someone else may be better at a certain activity than others. So it comes more natural to some people, but you can do it. And if you train your ear and work together, Edward mentioned something in the chat earlier. How do you, Bruce, I wanted to ask you, how do you get in touch with a technician? Meaning, he wants to know, what's the first step to work with a technician? Just
stay there. Just ask. When you start your session, just say, is there a tech available to work with me today? And you'll get a yes, or, they'll confirm that they're there. And then what you have to do is say, can I have a name? I'd like to know what to call you. Can I have your name? And you'll invariably get it. You know what I mean? And if you don't get it right away, I mean, don't worry. Like, there is a tech there. There's definitely a tech overseeing your session, and somewhere in the session, they'll come through. You know what I mean? They'll come through with some type of communication to let you know that they're there. So just ask. They're more than happy to let you know that they're there and they're working.
Right.
No, absolutely. That's absolutely correct.
Were there any other questions in the chat room that you got?
You know what? Rob, go ahead. Do you see any other? I know Edward asked that earlier. I also wanted to bring up, Bruce, if you have a moment. I don't know how much time you have, but I know you've been working with.
Plenty of time. I'm on disability. I got plenty of time.
Well, then I've got to ask you about your visual ITC, your vapor ITC.
Right.
Audio aside, ghost box aside, there are, again, many forms of ITC. Our audience may or may not be aware of that, but there's visual ITC, there's video loopback method, there's ITC through pictures, through holography, through lasers. So, Bruce, tell us a little bit about the vapor ITC.
Well, let me give you a little background first.
Please.
Years ago, I used to do video feedback loop.
Klaus Schreiber, right?
Very, very rudimentary, very grainy stuff. Very, there's videos out there of people that are getting full on, faces and stuff like that. And, that actually the videos that are out there of that are from years and years ago, like back in the 70s and stuff when, there were a couple of people doing it. A couple of the pioneers were doing it, and they were supposedly getting these full on faces and stuff like that. Video loop ITC, very, very grainy, very, interpretational. I mean, very misty, The vape ITC, vape imaging, the way I fell into that was I come across a woman contacted me about getting a ghost box, right? And, I helped her out getting a ghost box, which one to get, how to get started, stuff like that. And she said, you want to join? I have a Facebook group. I don't know if you're interested in joining it. I'll send you the link, which was water ITC.
Mm-hmm.
People that do water imaging.
Mm-hmm.
So I went over, took a look at it. I said, yeah, she's a nice lady. I said, let me join the group, And I joined the group, and there was somebody on there that was doing spirit imaging with, what do they call it? It's like an atomizer that vaporizes like oils, scented oils and stuff like that.
Yeah.
They were running this in front of a black screen, like a black sheet or a black piece of paper, and taking video of the moving vapor, and then going through the video a frame at a time. And they were getting these images, right? So I'm sitting in a chair one day, and I got my vape. Of course, I got my vape in my hand, right? And I'm on my phone, and I'm fooling around with the phone, and it dawns on me. I said, if she can do it with that vapor, I wonder if you could do it with smoke, with vape smoke. You know what I mean? So I put the camera on the phone, right? Took a puff of the vape, blew it out, snapped the picture, right? Nothing. Did it a couple of more times. Lo and behold, there's a face in that, right? So I said, whoa. No. I said, look at this. Now I must have took 500. I was choking to death because I was taking a picture every second. I was puffing that vape like every second.
Right. You got to work for those pictures, Bruce.
You lose a lung for those pictures. So
better make it work.
Yeah, man. And, I started to get these really good images. I mean, really clear, really good images. But they don't get me wrong. They're not coming like, if you've seen my images, those images are enhanced. The brightness is enhanced. The contrast is enhanced. The sharpness is enhanced because you're talking about smoke now. You know what I mean? And even though they can form, some images I've gotten, which I haven't even had to touch, that were fantastic. You know what I mean? But I would say like 90% of them, you have to adjust the brightness, the contrast, the sharpness. Don't put them in Photoshop and add anything or subtract anything to make it look like something, because then you negate the whole thing. You might as well just throw it away. You know what I mean? Because You just made up a picture then.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
But I mean, to adjust, I do it right on the phone. I adjust the contrast, the brightness, the sharpness, and then I'll send, I'll put it on my computer and I'll look at it in my Windows photo editor to make sure that, I look at it, a big version of it to make sure I didn't miss anything or whatever. And then I'll just, save it, file it. And, when I get ones that I think are good enough to post, I'll post them on that group. I'm actually, at this point, I'm an admin on that group at this point.
Nice.
So, that's how it came about. And I thought that I was the only one that ever did it with a vape cigarette, right? So I was calling it my vape method. When I would post something, I'd say the image was captured using my vape method. I had a woman blast me on there. She said, "How dare you claim that you created that? I was doing vape cigarette imaging 5 years ago, blah, blah, blah." So I said, whoa. I said, I did not know. I said, as far as I knew, I didn't know. I never saw anything. I never, I thought I was the first one that did it. If I I didn't mean to step on your creation or whatever. That's fine. I'll stop calling it mine. I just call it vape method now. I don't say mine anymore. But she said, you can go to my website and you'll see pictures of me holding the vape cigarette while I'm taking the picture or whatever, blah, blah, blah. So I said, no problem. I'm not disputing what you're saying. You know what I mean? Like, people are so touchy, man. Like, I mean, forget it.
Yeah, people are very, very touchy when it comes to different things like that. Mm-hmm. Don wants to know, so during my show on Saturday night, there was a little girl coming through, and it sounded like she was playing with a little rubber ducky, like a little squeaky toy, and she kept on doing it while we were doing the session. So she said, "Do you have an explanation for that?"
Well, I mean, it's like, it could be a couple of things. It could be she might have wanted to let you know that she was a child. So she used the sound of a toy or something that would be associated with a child.
Right.
She may have been a small child, and I'm sure they have, things on that side, the way they could make a guitar noise, or, you hear something that they drop, or something that, they make a tonal noise when they need to or whatever. Maybe they have something on that side that a child would be, playing with or using or whatever in proximity to that, ghost box session, that you heard, the ambient sound of it while she was talking or whatever. There's a lot of speculation that you could actually try to send through, you know what I mean? Like, try to explain, why did you hear that? But in all honesty, it could be anything. It could be for any reason, Who knows why it was created at that point? Probably because it was indicative of a child. So in order to let you, the operator, know that it was actually a child spirit that was speaking, they associated it with that sound of something that would be indicative to a child.
Well said.
Sufficient.
Absolutely. I'm so glad you're answering these questions in so much detail. I'm just so happy to learn this, and our audience, I know, is equally as thrilled to have you share this theory. So no, not long-winded at all. Bruce, I was going to ask you, and I
sent me a private message.
No, you know what?
No, we did. We shared. Somebody was asking for a link, and Josh sent a link to.
Because it popped up in the middle of the screen.
Right, I sent a link, Bruce. I don't know if you're familiar. There's a lot of people doing visual ITC. You're obviously doing amazing work with Vapor ITC. I'm really captivated by a person named Simone that goes by Simone TCI, and they're from a group called TCI Seattle. And she uses a cross feedback loop method for visual ITC.
I've seen her stuff.
I don't know how you feel about this. I'm impressed. I'm very impressed by the quality of the images, and she has a tremendous amount of experience in this.
Doesn't she post videos too of the images actually forming?
Yes, and that's why I was going to say this, is because she actually shows in slow motion or frame by frame how these faces are forming. And if you look at her evidence, guys, the link is in the chat section at some point. It's mind blowing. The images are mind blowing, and she's just using a different method than you are, Bruce. You're achieving a lot of the same results in that sense, but it's just through the cross feedback loop method, and it's just incredible.
Today, the video feedback loops today are done on digital televisions or digital monitors with digital cameras.
I was going to say,
when I was doing it, it was on an old television with a VHS camera.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
You know, so I mean, it was a totally different animal. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And exactly, so much what we did pre-2000 was analog, and then we stepped into the digital world.
Right.
But so much of the evidence it's been consistent since Klaus Schreiber did the video feedback loop method in the 70s, and as it's progressed, we have all of this data moving decades forward of people getting similar types of images, and now with you're doing vapor ITC, and so it's just amazing how this communication again isn't limited to the radio frequencies in the EM spectrum. We're getting communication through the formation of smoke or vapor. We're getting formation through cross feedback loop method. There's so many mechanisms by which they can communicate with us.
I posted an image a couple of days ago on that group, on that Artistry of ITC, Water ITC group.
Right.
I was actually taking a selfie to use as a profile picture somewhere. And I noticed the glare, like see the glare in my glasses now?
Mm-hmm. Right, yeah.
When I took the still image, something said, blow it up and look at it. I blew up the photo to where I saw just the lens of the eyeglasses, and there was a baby's face and shoulder and arm on the top of the lens. You know what I mean?
That's incredible, yeah.
It was clear as a bell. You know what I mean? And when I posted it, I said, you never know. In the post, in the description, I said, you never know where you're going to find these images or how they're going to project. So always be looking for them. You know what I mean? Right. So it just goes to show you, like what you just said, there's a myriad of ways, you know, that we don't even realize that they're trying to actually, this is visual communication. When you get an ITC image, it's actually visual communication.
Correct.
They're letting you know, yes, we are here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, you know, I mean, a lot of people don't realize that, you know, there's a lot of places, a lot of things you can look at, a lot of things you can do that you don't even realize that would contain, you know, paranormal things that people don't even look into, you know?
Yeah.
It's a very good point. And we're still, as time goes on, we're still learning new methods by which they communicate and frequencies. I mean, we're examining frequencies that are outside of radio waves. There's people that are we just had a discussion with Ron on the show last Friday about 222 kilohertz, long wave.
Yeah. And I got a very clear communication that mentioned a specific frequency, 78.3 hertz.
We talked about that, right?
Right. When I went to look it up, I looked up what the frequency was. It's the resonance that the magnetic poles of the Earth put out.
Right.
It's a frequency that comes from the magnetic poles of the Earth. So, and they told me, you know, I asked that in conjunction with a tech question, and their answer was 78.3 hertz. Right. You know, so.
And I'm wondering.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was just talking about our discussion, how maybe the possibility of stochastic resonance or combining that frequency that you picked up and using that as a baseline for stochastic resonance to combine and make that communication. Right. That I mean, it's interesting. And you talked about that theory on the show, and I've been actually thinking about that and that frequency and how to properly combine that. And again, there's other.
Well, you would have to, I guess somebody said, I don't know if it was you or Ron or somebody said that you would have to use a mixer. You could, because you'd have to incorporate the sweep of the ghost box and the sound of the frequency and have them both emitted through the speaker at the same time.
Correct.
Utilize it to create communication. Like you couldn't have two separate, they're not going to grab it from two separate places. It would have to be combined and come out of a speaker together. You know what I mean?
Correct.
So
that's like when people will record high frequency audio tracks, like music tracks, using singing bowls, things like that. They all have to go into the computer through a mixer, And so basically it's going in the recording and then back out. And so they're recording that track. So basically, yeah, everything's going through the mixer first, and then both of those signals are being fed into the audio source, or like a DAW, so a digital basically it's a piece of recording software to
digital
record
audio
multiple
workstation.
I
got
there
you, bro.
go.
I got your back.
Sorry, I'm just not feeling good, so I'm just trying to
Totally fine.
mentally get through it. So basically, then what they do is you lay down those two tracks and you record those two tracks together, and then you could go back and play back the audio, and then you're picking up that full mix.
So there's no way to have that feed live through a speaker?
Yeah, you could.
You could,
yeah,
because if you're only going to feed it to a recorder, then you're not going to hear any live responses.
Well,
you know
no,
what I mean?
because what you can do is you can have the DAW spit out the audio. So basically, it's just going through the DAW and as to process the audio, and then it's shooting it back out through the source. If you wanted to do that, so
yeah,
you can actually
the way I would do it.
You can monitor. It's basically monitoring the signal. So basically listening to the speaker, whether it's through headphones or through speakers.
Hey, Rob, I got a question for you. Did you try the vape imaging?
I did.
Don't lie, Rob.
No, I did. I was doing it.
I don't know, Bruce.
I was doing it one day.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna
Look, I went out and I bought a vape.
Oh boy!
Okay. So now I got you hooked on a vape. Now you shot. That's good.
So the first night I did it, it was funny.
Josh,
Yes.
He went and he didn't just go out and buy a vape. He went out and bought like a $300 vape. Like
that's Rob though. When
it looks like a suitcase. Yeah.
No, Rob goes first class when he buys something. Absolutely, you should see his.
So what was the outcome, Rob? Did you get anything?
So you know what? I did a few. I probably did like maybe 10 pictures, and then one of them came through, and I swear it looked. And I posted up a picture of my dog, and I posted the picture of the vape. It started to take that form. I didn't, and I posted it raw. I didn't even clean it up. And people were
now,
like,
"How are you taking? Are you taking still photographs or are you taking video?"
No, I was just taking still photographs using my phone. Like what
you have to make sure your flash is on. Make sure the flash is on. Make sure it's on. Not automatic. Make sure it's on constant flash.
Right, and then so
dark room.
So yeah, but so here, so it was basically like this. I was doing it during a live stream, and I have a black curtain behind me. Right, it's a black backdrop. So I had the lights just hitting on it, just so I can capture the smoke. So
the flash will give you the light you need.
Well, yeah, but I wanted to kind of give it like a different color hue, so I was flashing the light. It was just weird. But
you want to get fancy now.
I was trying to get a little fancy. Exactly. So
why don't you do one now? Let me see how you're doing it, Rob. Do one now. I want to see how you're doing it.
Rob.
You know what? I haven't even used my vape in I don't know how long. It's dead.
You just said you just took a picture. What are you talking about?
No. That was a
you see, Josh? You see?
I'm telling you, Bruce.
Now he's backpedaling. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know, Rob. Jeez, what are we going to do? And he's running the ship too, Bruce. It's going to be hard to criticize the guy running the ship.
Yeah, we can't just take him off, right?
Right. Oh, Rob, we love you.
That's funny. So anyway.
That was the example, everyone.
Yeah.
But I mean,
the reason I ask you to do that is because I want to see how you're doing it, how you're taking the picture. Because what I do is I take the puff of the vape, right? And then I hit the shutter on the phone, and I put the phone right here, and I blow the smoke out. Now, when you put that constant flash on, there's like a 2-second delay, but from the time you hit the plunger to the time it snaps the picture, so you have that time to move the camera. Move the phone up by and you blow the smoke out, and the smoke should be about 6 inches from the phone,
from the lens,
the picture snaps. You know what I mean? And I've gotten stuff that's like ridiculous, man. I got stuff. I got images. One image I posted it a while ago, almost a year ago now, of a whole scene in like a kitchen, there was a window with light coming through the window with little jars, like these little round jars on the countertop. And you could see that the light was hitting the side of the jars in the direction it was coming from. You could see the lip of the countertop, and it was really detailed. Like, I couldn't, there was no images of people or anything. It was just this image of like somebody's kitchen counter with a window. You know what I mean?
Right.
It came through so clear, it was ridiculous. I got an image one time of I swear to God, to me, it looks like some kind of African chief sitting in on a throne, like on a big chair, like a big throne with big arms on it. And he had like a breastplate on and had like this big headdress. And right next to him, kneeling down right next to him, was a woman in a long dress and, like a wrap around her head and everything. As a matter of fact, I posted that on that group too. And the detail in it, you could actually tell that it was that the individual was black. You could see that. You could see just from the sheen on his skin, like just the way the image came out, you could tell that he was like African, that he was black. You know what I mean? And it was unbelievable to me. I mean, stuff like that is just ridiculous. That you're blowing smoke out of your mouth, and these images are coming up. It's just unreal.
Well, and you know what's interesting about that? Native Americans and I could be completely misspeaking here, but I think you guys will know where I'm going with this, so help me out. But Native Americans would see images of their ancestors or spirits coming out of a fire pit, gathering around the fire.
Oh, yeah.
Family. And they would see smoke coming from the flames, and they would see images of their ancestors and spirits and spirit guides. And, you think about that and you go, okay, whatever. No, not whatever. I mean, you're literally doing that with your mouth and the phone and a vape device. This is no different than what the Native Americans, or I'm sure other tribes or groups have done throughout the centuries, or humankind when they.
What they used to do too is they had what they called a sweat lodge.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
They would go into these sweat lodges and they would have hot stones in the middle of the sweat lodge.
Right.
And they would throw water onto the hot stones, would create steam.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And the reason they went into these sweat lodges was to meditate and have a spiritual experience, and they would actually see images in the steam that was coming off the rocks.
Yeah, they would take peyote.
I'm sure that helped. Yeah, I'm sure that helped.
Yeah. Someone else mentioned DMT too, which is the chemical that's released from our pineal gland when we cross over. So the peyote and DMT seem to have a lot in common as well.
Yeah,
in terms of helping to facilitate that communication or that astral travel.
You know what somebody suggested to me though? They said that maybe the images are as concise as they are because you're drawing that vape smoke into your lungs, into your physical body. And going inside you, and then you're exhaling it. Maybe it has something to do with it connecting with your physical body or your physical being before you take that picture. That might have something to do with the connection that you're making that's giving you these good images.
That's a very good point.
Yeah, no,
that's
exactly.
just a sideline. I mean, I do that just for fun. Like I'm not doing any research into that or anything like that. I do it just like, when the spirit moves me, you know what I mean? So
well said.
My concentration is just in ITC and ghost box communication. That vape stuff, I mean, it's cool and everything, but I couldn't pursue that like full time. You know what I mean?
But what's fascinating, Bruce, is that not too many ITC researchers, and I'm going to speak for myself here. I focus, because of my career, mainly on audio-based, radio-based, pressure wave ITC, which is essentially sound. You're focusing on ghost box communication and visual ITC. So you've seen this communication with your eyes, you've heard it with your ears. You're using your body now to create the scenario or the perfect storm for this communication to come in. So, and that's what's so interesting about your theories is you're explaining this to us from multiple perspectives, from someone who's dabbled in a little bit of all categories of ITC. And I think that's what's so fascinating is you're able to draw those parallels or those things that all of these topics or methods have in common.
I actually got, and I mean, I didn't post it, but I mean, if you guys ever wanted it or whatever, I could send it to you, no problem. I got one image. I asked, somebody on the group said to me, why don't you ask ask for them to display a specific image or something specific. So for months, I kept, every time I did it, I would ask them, can you, because I've gotten letters, numbers, stuff like that, you know what I mean? And I said, can you, make my name appear? If you can make my name appear, then I know there's really something. And I did this I'm talking about, when I decide to do it, I'll take 50, 60, 70 images at a time in one shot, in one session. You know what I mean? So I'm talking about months. I took hundreds and hundreds of images with nothing. No response to the question, them asking them to form my name. When I forgot about it, I was sitting in the lounge chair watching TV. And of course, commercials came on. I was bored. I had checked my phone, and I had the vape in my hand. So let me take a couple of pictures. I hit the camera. I took a couple of pictures, and I didn't even look at them because the show came back on. I was watching. I put the phone down.
Of course.
Matter of fact, I didn't check it till I checked it the next morning, and as clear as a bell, spelled out completely my name, Bruce.
Yeah, I remember seeing that when you posted it. It was amazing.
Yeah. I mean, just unbelievable. Just unbelievable. I mean, that blew me away. That really blew me away.
Right. Carl says in the audience chat, he says, I spend a lot of time watching the Spectracom program. I've had some amazing visual communication with that. And that's what's so important is, when we talk about the ghost box or about radio communication, we're literally examining such a narrow frequency band of the EM spectrum. And that's why visual ITC and examining the entire EM spectrum, UHF, VHF, long wave, short wave, medium wave. I mean, there's ultra long wave. We have frequencies we still have yet to experiment with, that this communication is coming in all forms: visual, audio, smell.
Oh yeah. Any way they can get it across. Any way they can get it across. I mean, I actually have a picture, my mother's wedding picture from 1952. Right. And, wow. The picture was taken in a studio. Right. And I've had this picture hanging on my bedroom wall forever, right. And when I started years ago, to do, I actually pioneered another form of video of spirit imaging that I called VPI. It was visual projection imaging. And it's funny because it was a weird way this happened. I had a crystal window in the front door of my house, a little half moon crystal window at the top of the door. And between 3 and 5 in the afternoon, the sun used to shine through this crystal window, right? And it would hit the wall in the foyer of my house, right? So I don't know what I was doing one day, and I happened, out of the corner of my eye, I happened to see something moving in this, in the light that was being shined on the wall. Now I attributed it to maybe trees blowing outside, but when I looked at it, it was a face. And I said, what the hell? And I couldn't believe it. I shook it off. I said, that's your imagination, you know what I mean? And so the next day I remembered it. So I went and got my digital camera, and I went, waited for the sun to hit that wall, and I started to take pictures. And lo and behold, images started to come. I started to get pictures, started to get images of faces, forms, animals, stuff like that, I mean, and it really, for a while, I did that for a while, and it was, I had posted, this was back in like 2008, 2009. I mean, I posted a ton of stuff on my Yahoo group back then, because we didn't have Facebook and stuff like that back then. We had the Yahoo groups. So, and that was where I got, I got started, got intrigued with video ITC. Then I started, experimenting with the feedback loops and stuff like that. But then once Ghostbox came along, that I concentrated all my efforts into that, and I just didn't, I didn't do the video stuff, the visual stuff anymore, But that was back in the day. That was another ITC imaging project that I did.
Yeah, imaging is a lot harder than what people think. And somebody asked earlier about digital. What's better, digital or analog? Analog is always better. And the funny thing is, Josh was here one day, and we were talking about it, and I actually bought analog monitor. It's basically just a monitor that has RCA's in, and then I got a analog recorder. So I have everything to do a loopback, and I also got an old strobe light from the 70s.
Right.
So that way we can kind of do a live
Yeah, it actually slows
a
the
live
image
session.
down, right?
So it's going to actually slow the image down, and so we can monitor it live, opposed to going back, because you have to record it, then you have
So
to
have
go
you
back.
done it yet?
I haven't done it. I still haven't
Why
done it.
haven't we done it yet, Rob? All right, and Bruce, don't worry, we'll get on it. I'll take care of it. The audience
So-
knows I'm going to take care of it. So
I know, because when you have to go through, you literally have to go frame by frame. So
it's
this
so
way,
time consuming.
yeah, and then this way, I'm thinking, you know what, we can monitor it live. That would be kind of cool.
A lot of people don't realize, like, when you're reviewing a Ghost Box recording, if you review a Ghost Box recording, say you do a 10-minute Ghost Box session, to review that 10-minute recording may take you 2 or 3 days. You know, like it may take hours to review.
Exactly.
If you review it the right way,
right?
You know what I mean? Most people will just go through it, and if they think they hear something, they'll just snip that part out and say and present it in the midst of all of that garbage sweep, and if you hear it, you hear it. If you don't, you don't. You know.
Yeah.
right.
But that's not the correct way to go over. Matter of fact, I made a video not long ago. I actually videoed my computer and with the video editor and went over step by step, verbally and visually, how to edit a Ghost Box recording.
Great.
You know, and how to create single communication files with your question and the relevant communication following it, and make single examples out of it, and stuff like that. And just people just don't, you know what it is? Like, people don't want to take the time to go over that stuff, like to make the effort to go over it the right way and pull out those files and do the right thing, because what happens is a lot of people today will just pull out their phone, they'll turn the Ghost Box on, they'll turn the video on their phone, and they'll video 2 minutes of them doing a Ghost Box session, and then just post it right from their phone right onto YouTube or wherever they're going to, and like I said, you're losing 75%, 80% of the communication that's actually in that session.
I 110% agree with you.
You're hearing a loud no, you're hearing a loud hello, but you're not hearing the rest of what's there.
Right.
So, and in turn, the people that are reviewing it when you post it online are not hearing it.
Right.
And and it's crazy. So the theme of our show always is everybody nowadays are looking for instant gratification.
Yeah, well, yeah. That is
and I mean, nobody takes the time to sit there and analyze and review certain things. And that's why I tell people, if you go on and watch my Ghost Box sessions on Saturday night and you go back and you listen to them, people have heard EVPs from my voice, and I'm not even talking. So my voice is saying things that weren't even said during the broadcast.
Hey, Josh, watch this, Josh. You know something, Rob? I listened to a dozen of your Ghost Box recordings. Never heard a damn thing.
Ooh,
I just think with all
right now
those years,
why do I have this guy on here?
I think with all of those years of experience doing this, I don't think your ear is trained yet.
Yeah, right. There you go. It's a good comeback. No, that's good. That's good. No, that's beautiful. Yeah, that's perfect, man. That's perfect. Good. I'm glad you came back. That's good.
Come on, we know how to bust each other's.
Now the two of us got to gang up on Josh.
Hey, you know what? I'm still a nobody in the field, so it doesn't even matter.
That's not true, man.
No one knows who I am, so it doesn't.
That's true.
I'm throwing shots at myself because I'm the newest.
Let me ask you this, Josh. Do you do Ghost Box sessions?
Oh, I have terabytes and terabytes and terabytes. I have more sessions than I know what to do with.
Do you have any files that you can post?
Oh, the reason why I haven't posted anything is I don't know where to start. I have so many. Oh yeah, this session. Oh, this session, this EVP, this situation. I'm trying to organize that for my.
Do you have single files, or you just have whole sessions?
Oh, I have both. You know what? I don't clip anything. What I do is in my Pro Tools sessions, I highlight or put a marker where I hear those things, but I never cut out or edit my sessions. I've never posted anything publicly to save people time, so I've never had to really cut certain things out.
Well, the only way that you're going to get any kind of acknowledgement is to get your stuff out there.
Oh, I'm not looking for.
They have to hear your stuff, and then they get to learn your name. And they say, "Oh yeah, that's Josh Sean's stuff. That's coming from him." And that's how you get your name out there. It's not that you're not doing anything. Right. It's a shame that a guy like you that is doing stuff is not getting any recognition.
Hey Josh, you want to know how to get your name out there really quick?
I don't want guys. I'm not concerned about getting my name.
This is how you do it.
Well, you want some acknowledgement in the field that you're working in. You know what I mean? Like you want to get some kind of recognition for your efforts. Plus, you want to present whatever evidence you're getting.
Yeah, right. I am concerned about that, and I was always wondering if I should contribute it to a collective and just add the evidence. I don't. Putting it on YouTube is just not. I don't know. I just haven't done it. But I'm just not looking for that type of acknowledgement. I was joking. I was kind of just throwing shots at myself because we were all doing that. But at the same time, as long as we all hear the evidence and we can talk about it, that's pretty much where I'm at. But I guess
I'll give you instant gratification. Go do a session contacting Robin Williams and Michael Jackson. They'll get you instant fame.
Oh, that's exactly what I'm looking for. Of course. No, and you know what? I think most of my time and research, and when I think about I'm editing a YouTube video and doing those things, I'm more concerned about being in the lab. I'm working with clocks and crystals that are baked at certain frequencies, and I'm trying to work on these experiments. So whenever I do have free time, that's where I'm putting my time. But yes, I think at some point I need to upload it because I talk this big game, but I haven't actually shown anything.
You want to get your stuff out there. You want people to hear what you're doing. You want to present your evidence. You want to contribute to the community. Sure. And stuff like that, make sure that, not just to get your name out there, but to get your stuff out there. I mean, you're working hard at doing it. You're spending your time, you're doing your research, you're experimenting, you're getting your stuff. It's good to have people, and people out there are hungry. They want stuff. They want to hear your stuff. They want to hear everybody's stuff. They want they want every piece of evidence, whether it's stellar evidence or it's mediocre. I mean, it's something that advances the paranormal community and the paranormal field, because without it, there would be nothing. You know what I mean?
Right. No, that's a really good point. So yeah, at some point I'll get it out there and throw my contribution into the hat with everyone else's, so we can tally up the evidence. I don't even know what word that is. The evidence.
I'll make sure I stay on you. You'll get it out there.
I will, and I'm going to stay on Rob, and now you're staying on me. So yeah, now I see how this works.
We'll all bust each other's balls, so don't worry about that.
Right. Ooh, the audio engineer who's never released one piece of evidence he's ever worked on. Yeah, I'll trust him.
I had somebody make a nasty comment on one of my posts. And they came back with like, "Oh, that's just audio pareidolia," or whatever. So what I do is, I'm not one to go on and come back with a nasty comment or, get angry, and I just don't do that. I don't like drama online. I don't like to be involved in it. I don't like to create it.
Exactly.
And so what I'll do is, what I did with that individual was, I went over to their Facebook page. I looked at their Facebook page. Not one iota of anything paranormal. They belong to one of the groups I belong to. Never posted a thing. Have no, I Googled their name. They're not known anywhere for paranormal research, nothing in the paranormal yet. So I just went back and I said, listen, I appreciate your comment, and I will die for your right to make that comment. But if you're going to make a comment like that, don't you think you should have it based in some sort of experience?
True.
I actually checked you out, and you have done zero in the paranormal. So until you know what you're talking about, I would refrain from critiquing anybody else's evidence or presentation of evidence. And the person apologized, replied back and said, "You're right. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have made that comment."
Really?
Which is a good way to handle it. I could have went back and argued with the guy, said, "You're an asshole, who you don't know what you're talking about." And then it goes back and forth, and you both look bad.
Oh, yeah.
Right. No, and you know what, that's what I think needs to be returned to the community. And Rob and I have talked about, morals, ethics, how to handle yourself like an adult and be mature. And I think so much of, and I have to say this, Bruce, so much of why I haven't released my evidence for such a long period of time is there has been so much drama. And there are those negative comments and things that come in and say, oh, it's audio pareidolia, or you know the drama in the ITC field. Yeah. Our audience may not know everything, but I think the three of us here know how drama has proliferated in the last 20 years. And I think that's
I left the public paranormal life for years.
Right.
I mean, I went into I got off the groups, I got off of I didn't post anything online. I just did my research and did my sessions, did my research, talked to the people that I needed to talk to privately, and I didn't post any because it was just too much drama, too much nonsense.
Right.
And I said, this is not what I'm in this for.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? I'm not in this for this nonsense. What are we, a bunch of little girls that we, pulling each other's pigtails and running around in circles and calling each other names and cursing, and it's nonsense. Who's blocking who's throwing who off whose group, who's good. It's all nonsense. So I left for a few years, and then when I came back with a different frame of mind. I came back with the idea that no matter what anybody says to me, I'm going to deal with it in a mature manner and a nice manner. And, this way, nobody can say anything about you. You know what I mean? Right. Like if you go out there, even though you may be 100% in the right, if you argue with somebody and you're nasty and when your name comes up somewhere down the line, they're going to say that's what they're going to associate your name with.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, they're not going to
bring defending yourself. You're an asshole. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So if you're nice and you're respectful about everything, either don't, if you can't say anything nice or comment in a respectful manner on a critique or somebody that criticizes your stuff, don't say anything. Just leave it alone.
Yeah, you don't have to say anything at all. Exactly. Right. And that's I think why I feel like we're, I'm glad you're back in the paranormal and ITC research community. And, we all feel kind of comfortable here because we know that we respect each other's opinions. Sometimes we differ, sometimes we don't, but we respect each other. And that's the environment we want to facilitate, because so much about communication, remember, from the others or spirit, however you want to interpret that, is they're doing, and Bruce, help me out here, but some type of group collective energy, or they're working together as a group. We're working together as a group. And I think it's more about working together. It's the same principles about life. Treat each other with respect, work together, work as a team. And so much of that is part of ITC. And I think people forget that. It's intent and it's character.
It comes down to this. A lot of people in the paranormal community want to be number one. They want to be an expert. They want to be the best person out there. They want to be the most recognized person. They want to be, they want to have the best stuff out there and considered to be, one of the top people in the field. If it doesn't, and they'll do anything to attain that reputation. If that means degrading someone else's work or something somebody else is doing, they'll do it. You know what I mean? They'll do it to they'll step on you to try to get to the top. You know what I mean?
Of course.
But I think they're doing more to hurt themselves in that manner than to help themselves. But this is what you got to deal with. And I just steer myself away from that type of stuff. If it occurs, I go in the other direction. You know what I mean? Like I'll just stay away from it because it can't help in any way. It can't help you in any way. It can't help your reputation. It doesn't showcase your stuff. Everybody's doing what they're doing and everybody's getting what they're getting. You know what I mean? And whether you think it's the best or you think it's the worst or whatever the case may be, it is what it is. Mm-hmm. No matter what you or anybody else thinks of it, it's exactly what it is.
Right.
It's not going to get any better or any worse because I say it's better or worse or you say it's better or worse. You know what I mean? Yeah. It has all presentation of paranormal evidence stands on its own merit. It doesn't matter what anybody says about it. Right. You know what I mean? So
yeah, it's like, and that's kind of how we started the show. I mean, we just, because the ITC community just kind of, it took a bad turn. So we wanted to kind of educate people on ITC. And so that's why we started doing this podcast.
Well, if you get a, in any walk of life, any field you go into, any area you go into, you're going to get that handful of people that are not going to be, the most forthcoming. They're not going to be the most upright. They're going to do things in a shady manner. You're going to always get a handful of those people.
Right.
But, even in the paranormal, I think they're the minority, and I think if we waste time, effort, and breath on these people, the recognition that we're giving them, even though it's negative recognition, is still recognition.
You're right. No, exactly. That's why we don't mention any names. We don't, we kind of just leave it alone. But it's kind of neat though that there's a lot of
some of the stuff you've done, man. I mean, everybody knows exactly who you're talking about, exactly what you're talking about. So, I mean, I could see your frustration. I mean, I could see your disgust and your frustration in a situation like that where it's so blatant that you feel that it aggravates you so much that you feel you have to speak out about it. But what I do when I feel like that is I'll turn off the phone, I'll turn off the computer, and I'll just do something else for a while.
No, I mean, yes, we did some sessions, just calling somebody out, but it was all in fun. It was just all in fun. That's what it was. It was all in fun. It was just funny. It was something to make people
Let me
laugh.
tell you something. There's been quite a few people that have come out against the same individuals that you guys came out against, and it accomplished absolutely nothing.
True.
Right.
They don't care. They're making $1 million. They don't care about what you're saying. They don't care about what you're doing. Right. They just keep going. And matter of fact, there was a guy on one of the groups that was really not liked. You know what I mean? And a few people used to comment on the stuff that he posted, and they would make nasty comments or criticizing comments and stuff. And the guy would like every one of their comments. I mean, he would give every one of those nasty comments a thumbs up. You know what I mean? And never comment back, just give it a thumbs up and go on his way. And eventually those people just said, hey, we look like the idiots because we're attacking the guy and the guy's giving us a thumbs up. So now who looks like the bad guy?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And they just went away. They just stopped doing it. You know what I mean? And the guy just didn't care. He just, whatever you say, thumbs up. You know what I mean?
Right.
So,
but there's a lot of electronic engineers that are coming out and they're explaining how certain devices work.
Correct.
And that's amazing because they see these people spending so much money, and it's like, you guys know what? You guys are wasting all of your money. Right. If Elon Musk wanted to make $1 million, he would start building
ghost boxes.
He would start building whatever it is, and the newest paranormal gadget, whatever, and people are going to jump on it because it was made by him.
Well, I'll tell you what. See the people that we're alluding to. Their followers don't care what anybody says.
True.
Right.
Very
They're
true.
loyal. They believe that the guy is the second coming. They believe that whatever they do, they can do no wrong. So no matter what you say, it's not the people that actually believe it and are following it will not be swayed.
True.
So it's actually, you're talking on deaf ears.
True.
The people that are listening to stuff, are listening to guys that go against these people, are already against these people.
Right.
So you're just saying stuff that people already know and feel that are listening to you. You know what I mean? The people that are following them are not listening to you. So it doesn't. You're not changing anybody's mind.
Preaching to the choir.
Well, and I'm not even talking about. I'm not even talking about ghost boxes. I mean, I'm talking about things that use IR detection, motion sensors, things like that. Because if people knew how a motion sensor worked, they would be like, wait a minute, why this can't be used for paranormal because there has to be a temperature change in heat, not opposite. Cold isn't going to set it off. It's going to be
actually, don't they work by, doesn't it have to be some kind of physical matter that triggers?
It's a temp. So basically, what it does is it stabilizes itself. So basically, when you set it down, it's basically connecting to. It's hitting a wall. It's hitting something, and it's getting a temperature reading. Now, for something else to set it off, it has to be a warmer temperature than that wall. So
Shows you how much I know about these devices, right?
yeah, so if the wall is 65 degrees, body heat's going to set it off because body heat's a lot warmer than 65 degrees. So
Yeah.
that's what's going to kick it off.
You know what's funny to me though? I mean, I've seen stuff recently come out that like little merry-go-rounds,
right,
and little coffins, and little like there's somebody put out a merry-go-round that's a motion detector.
Right.
So like when it breaks a field or something that triggers it, it starts to go around like in a merry-go-round, make a noise like it's a little merry-go-round, like a toy.
Sure. Okay.
Right.
Lights on it and stuff, and then somebody else came out with a little coffin, like a little box.
Yeah, music box.
That was a motion detector or something like that. Or you know, I mean, all these devices are. I mean, well, you know what? I'm not even commenting.
That's
but no, there's all I'm saying is there's other people doing broadcasts that are, or even just a video of explaining to people, because it's kind of sad when people don't do the research. They just say, oh, it's a new gadget, and they don't do any research on how the technology works. So so basically it's nice that other people are stepping out and saying, look, you have to educate yourself. It's with any type of equipment that you use. You need to know how it works. You're just not going to give somebody a mixer. You're not going to just give somebody some software, say, here, go make some 93 kilohertz or hertz audio tracks that are going to provide ITC. It's not going to happen. You're going to have to know what the devices do, what the software does. You know what I mean? So it's just for somebody to go out and buy a piece of equipment, not knowing what it does, how it works. It's kind of foolish. That's all I'm saying.
You know what I attribute that to? In the last, I'd say 7-8 years, the paranormal has been inundated with people, just regular everyday people,
right?
Were never interested in paranormal, have no background in the paranormal. When I just decided to, when I mean, years ago, when I first got started, I mean, you couldn't find another paranormal investigating team, no matter how hard you tried.
Nope.
They were like as scarce as hen's teeth.
Yep.
Today, every housewife in America has their own paranormal investigating team.
Right.
And they're all, they run out, they buy an EMF detector, they buy a laser thermometer, they buy a digital recorder, they buy a digital camera, they get a nice little metal case with foam in it that holds all their equipment, and they run out there to the nearest, publicized haunted location, and they're just doing investigations. And if you watch some of the YouTube videos of these investigations, I mean, they're the most ludicrous thing. Nobody knows what they're doing, and that's because everybody and their brother, they put all these ghost hunting shows on TV. They make all the equipment that these guys use on TV is accessible online at basically reasonable prices. I mean, the basic equipment is at a basically reasonable price. For a couple of $100, you could put together a ghost hunting kit. You know what I mean? And these housewives are home and they're bored, and it's like people that I get. How many people I get message me a week asking about ghost box apps on a phone?
Oh yeah, that's a big question.
Yeah. Should I get this app? Is this app any good? Does this app get communication? Should I use this app? Now, if you need to ask me that question, you shouldn't be involved in the paranormal. You know what I mean? Like you should, because you're having coffee with your girlfriends like twice a week. You're having a coffee clutch twice a week and you want to turn on a ghost box or try to do ghost box communication, when your girlfriends are over for coffee and tea or whatever, that's not
my girlfriends.
No, I mean, not these people these housewives.
I know.
I know you ain't got no girlfriend, Josh.
I do not. No, I don't. I play with broken radios. There's nothing.
So I mean,
going
that's that's what it's become. It's become a lot of people that got involved in the paranormal that never took the time to learn what it was about, or pick a specific area, or find out what the equipment that they're using actually does, or is meant to do, or was supposed to do, or how it's used, why it's used, when it should be used. I mean, they just grab the stuff, run out. I mean, in any town you go to in the USA today has 20 purported haunted locations.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like you can go in any town, in any city, anywhere in the United States, and find some place that's publicized as a haunted location, and it's taking money for people to investigate it.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah, and it never used to be that way. I mean, when I first started, I would run to Radio Shack and buy a case of cassette tapes. And then I just had my analog recorder and my EVP or my EMF detector was a compass. That's how far back I mean, I didn't see any paranormal equipment come out for another, at least 10 years.
Yeah.
But it was funny. It was after people started saying, well, they would go out and buy equipment that electrical technicians would use to pick up EMI, electromagnetic interference. What's causing, is there an bad electrical wiring, things like that. So people started.
Come on, man. And EMF
people started, right. And so people started using those, and then they became popular. And then that's where the theory came from, like, oh, ghosts put out EMF.
I mean, if you catch a wall that has electrical conduit in it, it's going to make your EMF detector go off.
Exactly.
I mean, people don't realize this. They don't realize that that's what I mean by not doing any research.
Right.
If you did your research and found out what an EMF detector is for and what it does and what can affect it, you wouldn't be in that position.
Exactly. And people don't realize they're only going to detect 50 and 60 hertz. Some of them might go about 45 hertz, but that's it. And that's all man-made. Frequency.
Yeah. You know what's really funny to me? Have you seen the device? I'm sure you've seen it that they're using out there today that makes the green stick figures.
Yeah.
Rob knows. Yeah.
That's a Connect.
The Connect camera.
But I can walk you through on how that works.
Come on.
I can walk you through exactly how it works.
Yeah, that's. I mean,
and I can make it go off anytime I want to.
How silly is that, man? I mean, come on. And people that are influential, that have ghost hunting TV shows, popular ghost hunting TV shows, are using things like that.
Yeah.
So Mr. and Mrs. America that decide they want to get involved in the paranormal, they watch one of these ghost hunting TV shows one day, and they see somebody, using it, and the people on there are telling them that this green stick figure is created by an entity that's, it's picking up an entity that's there, and they're making such a big deal out of it. These people run out the next day and they buy one.
Right.
Exactly.
And now they're in some place, they're in a cemetery trying with a stick figure machine. or whatever they're using. You know what I mean? And it's ludicrous, man. It's just ludicrous.
It's just crazy. But
here's
anyway.
my question with that, if I may ask the both of you, because you'll know more about this than I will. Now, Bill Chappell, didn't he modify one of those devices, Rob? And wasn't there, because I know he had an idea of how to possibly modify that and use that. And someone like him is pretty intelligent in terms of.
Well, if anybody can do it, he can.
That's what I'm saying, right? Because I know that he was working with it, and he was actually getting some very interesting results. So
the guy's a genius. He's a genius.
Absolutely. And I don't even think he would. I mean, we're nobody. Well, Rob and I are nobodies. You're a somebody. I don't think he'd do our show, but I would love to have Bill Chappell come on, because he came out with
stuff. He came out with stuff years ago.
Right.
Like I worked with him on stuff years ago.
Right.
That never came to fruition. But he did a thing on Skype where he started a Skype channel, like you could call a number on Skype, and it would turn into a ghost box.
What?
When it picked up your call, like you would call this number on Skype, or the certain contact, you would click on the contact. When it picked up, it would be a ghost box.
Wow.
So he initiated or started the first ghost box streaming, in a sense.
Yeah. And he called me up one day and he said, listen, he said, I just created this thing on Skype. He says, I'm sending you the contact. He said, go on there, try it, and tell me what you think, right? So I went on, I started it, and I didn't get anything really, maybe a yes or a no, but nothing to talk about. So I called him back, and I said, listen, Bill, I said, for all intents and purposes, I said, it's all right, but it's not, I said, it's nowhere near using a regular ghost box. I said, I guess if you wanted to play around with it or whatever, if somebody didn't have a ghost box or they didn't want to buy a ghost box or whatever, they could use it to get, yeses, no, stuff like that. I said, but as far as getting any kind of solid communication, I don't think so. So he squashed it, and that was the end of that. You know what I mean? But Steve and I came up with something years ago that was why we stopped using it. I don't know. I don't remember the reason we stopped using it, but it actually was pretty good, and I still have files from it that are fantastic. You guys ever hear of EVP Maker?
Yep.
Oh, of course. Stefan Bayon's EVP Maker.
Back in the day, I'm talking about back in like 2006, 2007. Steve and I got together and we made up a file of allophones, right?
Okay.
And we took the file, we scrambled it through EVP Maker and recorded the scrambled file coming from EVP Maker and made a file out of that, and then fed that back into EVP Maker and played it on a loop.
Right.
And believe it or not, we got communication with it. And I could send you guys the files. We got
check that out.
Pretty decent communication with it. We worked with it for a good, I'd say a good 6 months, trying to perfect the file, changing, because there are some, no matter what you do, if it's a pre-recorded file that you're using as a base, you're going to get redundancies. Right. You know what I mean? So those redundancies, and especially with tones and allophones and phonetics and stuff like that, some of it that lands together can sound like a word. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So we were trying to go through it, eliminate that. We redid the file and redid it and redid it and redid it and redid it. And then after a while, we just said, hey, you know what? We're knocking our brains in over here. We may never come up with the right combination. It's there if we want it. It's there if we want to mess around with it or whatever. It's there. That's it. We did it. And that's it. Let's move on. Let's get back to our real research. And we just let it go by the wayside. You know what I mean? But it's still, I still have the original. I still have the file that we used with the experiments, doing the experiments and stuff. Matter of fact, I threw it on a couple of months ago. I said, I came across it on the computer and I said, let me throw it in there. See, let me put on EVP Maker and see if I get anything. And I got like a 4-word communication,
right?
That said my name and everything, So it was actually pretty good. And I said to Steve, I said, how come we stopped working with that EVP Maker deal? And he said, I don't know. He says, I don't know what happened. We just stopped working with it. Right. And we just let it fall. But now that's where we were doing that before anybody else came out with pre-recorded stuff, putting it in, letting it scramble, and then replaying it in the device and stuff like that. We were the first ones to ever come up with that idea and do that with EVP Maker. Yeah. And then years later, people started building devices based solely around that premise.
Right. Yeah. Yep. That's an interesting practice in the music industry. A lot of the times what we call reamping a guitar is when a guitarist will play something out of the amp and it'll be picked up through a microphone, go through the mixing board. And then a lot of times we'll run that signal out through a different type of amp and then capture it back into the mixing board. So essentially you created an audio loop, or you created an audio feedback, and you fed EVP Maker something that it already created. So it's almost exponentially giving you that, the possibility for communication, or giving you the fragments to form communication.
Tomorrow, Josh, Rob, I'll send you one of the files tomorrow, just so that
Okay.
you can hear what it sounds like. I'll message
Yeah,
you.
so-
I want to hear that. Yeah, definitely. EVP Maker is still to this day so successful. It's what helped kickstart Frank Sumption and his invention or creation of the voltage tuned radio or the scannable radio. And I know that he credits Stefan Bayan, EVP Maker, for a lot of that.
Stefan Bayan actually got religion, became like a devout Christian, shut down his website. You know, his whole connection to the paranormal and to EVP Maker and all of that, just denounced everything and became this born-again Christian, and just he doesn't do anything anymore.
I just posted a link where you can download EVP Maker.
Yeah, it's still out there, but
Yeah,
Stefan Bayan's website and all of that is just gone.
Yeah.
If to our audience, again, to be very clear, if you want to find out what helped inspire the father or creator of the Ghost Box, Frank Sumption, please download Stefan Bayan's EVP Maker. That literally is the roots or foundation of where the Ghost Box came from, and you're going to have amazing responses from this. It's anyone who's tried it or put attention or time or intent into it has had amazing communication. So definitely check it out.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's
EVP Maker. I think he designed that originally just to make ambient sound for entities to form EVPs.
right.
You know what I mean? So it was never intended to be used for live spirit communication. You know, we kind of, you know, people that used it that were into, you know, live ITC kind of took it and tried to adapt it to that. You know what I mean? We tried to adapt it to that, and it kind of worked out. What happens is you can't. It's not as solid as Ghost Box communication. Like you can't, because it's a pre-recorded file being fed into the program, it can always be questioned. You know what I mean? Like somebody can always say, well, how do we know you're not programming you didn't program the words into the base file that goes into the, even though EVP Maker, no matter what you put in there, it scrambles it.
Yeah, it scrambles it.
That was the whole premise behind it. Any file, like the first file that we used, I think when we first got EVP Maker, when he first came out with it, Stefan, I think the first file we used was Thomas Edison's Mary Had a Little Lamb. We put that into EVP Maker and had it scramble that, you know what I mean? But it was a whole thing with EVP Maker. And it's a shame that, it was good to experiment with, but it wasn't a solid form of, we always wound up going back to the Ghost Box. Sure. You know what I mean? Sure. Because that's the most viable source of live spirit communication.
Right.
Well said. And it's important too. And Bruce, this is
hey guys, listen, I don't want to interrupt you, but you know what's funny? I'm getting messages on my Facebook Messenger to send people a file for EVP Maker.
That's excellent. That's excellent.
That's awesome.
People are listening to this show?
Yeah, I guess at this hour, it must be people on the West Coast, though.
Wow.
I'll tell you that.
Probably.
Wow.
You wouldn't think anybody's listening to this show.
I thought we were just, the three of us were talking and it was so late. We were just kind of going off topic, but yeah, no, this is excellent. I was going to say, Bruce, it's one of the reasons why when Rob and I started the Ghost Box Legends, not only, do we want to talk about things like EVP Maker and help people understand how the Ghost Box came to be, but it's important to know the history. If we know where we've been, what people have been working on, and what's been contributed to the field, we have a better idea of where we're going. Right. And that's why I think it's important to talk to you with your experience, your years of experience. Talk to Steve. I know Rich Georgina can't, he may not want to do the show, and I understand, but it's important to know who these people are, including yourself, and how far it's come and where we're at today. And your wisdom, we wanted to host a show where we could get your wisdom on and heard for the next generation that's coming up that will hopefully lead the charge.
I hope it does get out there to them, because it's really, that's my main goal, to try and bring people back to basics, try and get them back to the traditional way of doing things.
Right.
Because that, believe it or not, man, that's the best way. The way we designed it, the way we built it to work, the protocols that we came up with, and the way we formulated all the theories and opinions, and where it comes from, is really a basic way to get the best communication and do the best you can with it. So I would love, my main goal is trying to get people back to the old way of doing things, but
Right.
it's an uphill battle, man.
Oh, yeah.
You just can't make people understand, like, because they have no knowledge of it. They don't know about it. You know what I mean?
Right.
They know what they see on YouTube. They know what they, they're watching these paranormal TV shows and stuff. That's what they know. They don't know, a lot of the new people coming in don't know who Bruce Halliday is, don't know who Steve Holte is, don't know who Frank Sumption is, don't know, you know what I mean? Right. The guys it's like, I guess it's like anything else. I mean, when people, the forefathers of, inventions and things that we use on an everyday basis today that people take for granted and stuff. A lot of people don't know the original people that were in it and who developed it and how they got it started and who built the foundation of it and stuff like that. And they just, a lot of the information and stuff falls by the wayside, which is sad.
It is sad. Yeah. All right, guys, I'm kind of fading. I'm just not. You're
fading.
No, no, I know. I'm coming down with something. So, I mean, I've been fighting this bug all day and, just my whole body hurts. I feel like I have the flu. That's what I feel like.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Rob.
No, it's all right.
You should have said something sooner.
No, I tried it. I mean, I was fine. But now it's just really hitting me.
What are we on? About 3 hours now?
It's almost 2.5 hours.
Closing in on 2.5
and
hours.
It's usually about the time that we cut out anyway.
That's not bad. That's actually, it's a pretty long show. 2.5
Oh, yeah. Oh, no, we try to go as long as possible. But, so I was going to say we have some exciting news. So everybody that was able to watch a live stream the other day, we're going to be doing that about twice a month. We're probably going to do one on Friday. And all of the shows, we will have true TV celebrity guests or, people that were in movies. But
are you going to tell them who the celebrity guests are, or let it be a surprise?
I'm not going to do it because it's not all set in stone. We have somebody that said that they will do it Friday, but we just don't have it locked down for time.
When you told me who it was, I could not believe it. I'm like, are you serious? I couldn't believe it, but yeah, it's happening.
Yeah. So it's going to be a lot of fun. So it's going to be, Live Paranormal TV is going to be the name of the show. So Nikki and Rob will be on location, and I will be hosting the stream. So I will be kind of doing commentary, and then we will do live ghost box sessions. We'll do different experiments, kind of like how the live stream went down the other day. So I'm just going to be here hosting the stream, and then they're going to be on location live. So it's going to be pretty interesting.
It's going to be a great show. Yeah, I can already tell it's going to be a good series. You've got all the bandwidth figured out. Everyone, we've run through an experiment. I can't wait. I'll be watching from work, and I'll be texting you if I feel like you're not doing a good enough job. I'm going to let you know.
Hey, who's your next guest in the Ghost Box Legends series?
Well, if we're going in order or trying to stay in order, I wanted to talk to Mike Coletta, Rich Georgina. I know that they may not want to do the show, so totally
I don't know about Mike Coletta, but I don't think. Well, I shouldn't say anything, but I don't think Rich Georgina is not into.
I understand. I totally understand. I have to kind of go through my list. I may do someone.
I think Matt, I think was going to come on next week.
Matthew Jackson's coming on next week. Yeah. He's part of the series, and I may bring up Joe Ciappi or Ron Ricketts because we're
Joe Ciappi's dead.
No, I mean, and so is Ron Ricketts. But at least to talk about them or honor them or just kind of explain what they've done.
Yeah,
Rob.
Yes, sir.
Does he know these guys are dead?
Oh,
I think he communicates with them all the time.
I hear from Ron through the mini box. He says his name. I do. I mean, now if it's him or not, I don't know, but I definitely get his name through the box.
Well, he's definitely, if he's going to talk to you, it's going to be through his box, right?
Absolutely. And one time I've got his full name. Most of the time I just get Ron, but I don't get
anything. I was a beta tester on that box.
I know you were a beta tester, and you reminded me how silly I was to pay what I paid for one, but it's worth it, man.
I got mine for free, both of them, the mini box plus and the mini box.
Oh, fantastic devices. I love them. Absolutely love them. Rob gets tired of me talking about them. So
They were actually, at the time, they were state of the art when they came out, you know?
They still hold water, I'm telling you.
I remember when you got that box.
Oh yeah, it's mind blowing. Anyone, if you ever see me in person and I've got that box, I will show you exactly what I'm talking about.
All right, Rob is going to pass out any second.
Yeah. So basically, I will be doing the live stream, still on YouTube,
right?
On Live Paranormal's Facebook page and on the Parawakening page. So I do when I do a stream, it's being broadcast to 3 pages. Right. So
fancy.
Yeah,
fancy.
So it might be Saturday night. So I'll have to do 2 shows on Saturday night, which is going to be fun.
Yeah.
They'll be back to back, so it's going to be crazy.
Whoa! All right, guys, listen. Okay. Thank you for having me.
Oh, it's no, it's
a pleasure.
Thank you for honoring us, Bruce.
You guys really do a good show. You do a classy show. It was a pleasure being a guest on you.
Oh yeah, we'll have you back again, and maybe you could do some.
What makes you think I'm coming back, Rob?
Well, I don't know. Maybe if you want to, if you ever want to, the door's always open.
Anytime you ask me, I'll be there anytime.
Thank you so much.
Just do me a favor. Adjust your hours. Do something for you.
We're gonna try. We're trying.
I'm sure you're losing a lot of East Coast listeners. Forget about the guests and stuff. You're losing a lot of East Coast listeners.
I know.
We're trying. It's all up to Josh. I'm putting all the pressure on Josh. I'm available at 5 o'clock, which would be 8 Eastern.
Yeah, the guy's got to make a living. I mean, what do you want him to do? Put his job?
I'm taking cover. Shots are being
fired. He's got to make the bread. He's got to make the bread.
I'm gonna make these changes because the audience. It's about the audience and their time and their energy is important to me. So I will get that worked out. Rob, it won't be much longer. Thanks for calling me out.
Oh, no worries. Yeah. I'm just saying.
No,
it's no big deal.
Yeah. No. Thank you. I know it's not a big deal.
I mean, I heard this. You guys did a show, the first Ghost Box Legends show. Remember me and Steve were in the chat room?
And you helped me.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right. And you guys said that on that show that you were going to make a time change and you were going to do it. And that was like how long ago?
It was about a month ago, maybe.
Yeah, a little more than that, Rob.
Woo! Dang.
So let's get with the program, huh, guys?
Okay.
I know. We will, Bruce.
We're trying.
Stay on top of us. We'll take care of it. I promise.
Josh, I'll be messaging you.
I know.
All right.
And I know you will. I know there's several things you have to tell me, so I know.
Yeah. And I'll send you guys that EVP maker file tomorrow so you can listen to what
perfect.
we get out of it. All right?
Yeah, perfect. All right. Well, you guys all have a great night.
Thank you, audience.
All right.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
All right.